Share this live with my crew. Share this live with my crew. Share this live with my crew, my team. Today my live is going to be about the book Recall. It's based on my own experiences. It's what I call a creative nonfiction. It's not what I call it. It's what it's called, this process, creative nonfiction. And so I'm going to wait for people to get on. After reading some pages, I'm going to explain to you the book, why it's important to consider reading it. I have been very remiss to self-promote. I am, like you, very uncomfortable in promoting myself, okay, on that level. And the reason I'm uncomfortable in promoting myself is because it feels like I'm selling you something. And I've come to realize, since I've sold, copies, and the feedback I got, is that the way it's formatted is helping people actually remember their own past lives. And I think it's because of the way it is written, the format. So I'll explain to you what I mean by the format. It goes back 3,500 years ago. And then, so each chapter is broken up into 3,500 years before, BC. And then it goes into the present, 1997, and it keeps flipping back and forth. And I think because it does that, it's eliciting in some of my people, my readers, their own past life memory. It's weird. I think it's because the brain is toggling between past and future. Past and present, back and forth, and it's written in a very fast pace. And it was banned by TikTok. That's why you don't see it on TikTok, because it was banned. And I have my ideas on why it was banned on TikTok. At first I thought it was because it was very erotic, because it's very erotic, and I thought that was the reason. But then I started seeing that a lot of writers that have beautiful covers and little stickers and beautiful packaging and all that shit, it was erotic. So it wasn't that. It was the forward, and it was chapter 1. And chapter 1 talks about Christianity, and it talks about religions, and it talks about shit that made people apparently very uncomfortable. But it is not something that I've invented. It's something that all theologian scholars agree on. In fact, even the Vatican agrees on it. No one's arguing what I wrote in chapter 1. The reason why that's important to understand is because then you start claiming back your power, your lost memories from past lives. And to remember past lives is probably the most important thing you can do. Why is that? Because in past lives lies the nucleus of some of your traumas still unheard by your soul's voice. In other words, you don't remember what is still harming you today. And it could have been something that happened to you 3,000 years ago, something that happened to you 100 years ago, or a collection. When I do Akashic readings for my clients, one of the questions I ask is, how did you fall? How did you fall, and why did you fall? Okay? So hopefully I will not be put in TikTok, constraints. But I'm going to read to you a word from the author, which is obviously me. And then I'm going to send you some quotes. I'm going to read you some quotes real quick. And then hopefully I can read you the prologue. And then start with the first page of chapter 1 that begins with September 8th, 1997. And we'll see how far we go. Okay? And if this is not your thing, scroll on. Don't you dare muzzle what I'm about to share. Because what I'm about to share is for the greater good. It's not to harm anyone. All right? Any questions or comments? And share the live with people who actually want to know their past lives. Share the live with people who are trying to figure out where they come from. Why are they in this incarnation? What is going on in this incarnation? Okay? All right. Any questions or comments so far? And so, any questions or comments? So, I'm going to give you a little background about me because it's probably important. And I'm going to read you the back. My name is Tony Barca. And so Tony Barker was born in Paris, France, and was raised by an unconventional family. Her father was an American, her mother French, with a lineage that dates back to the 12th century. By the time Barker was 14, she had lived in Asia, Africa, Europe, and the USA. In 2018, Tony met two female shamans who led her to even greater awakenings via the wisdom of ayahuasca, San Pedro, and Bufo. Armed with the knowledge that reincarnation is the great truth that most people do not believe in, Barker began to explore the reasons why every human being on the planet experiences deep soul connections with a handful of people and what these connections are meant to teach us. She has herself explored her own past lives and within the pages of her books laid the nucleus of her discoveries. She is a certified hypnotherapist, spiritual life coach, and psychic. Shall we begin? All right, let's begin. A word from the author. As I write this, Gaza is under siege. The West Bank has fallen beneath greedy hands. Congo and other countries are right now under the onslaught of greed, whilst ignoring the debauchery of raping and killing of women and children. There was a time when Y2K had people panicking, stocking pew-pews, water, and food for the apocalypse. Nothing much has changed. As 2012 brought us another promise of the world ending, yet presidents came and went as we continue to progress as a people, as multi-dimensional light beings. In over 3,600 years, we have not changed much, aside from the small rectangular communication tool you take for granted called the cell phone, which now has made every human a potential boots-on-the-ground journalist. Maybe this is what will change us as humans, transform to Habor, war, Geno, and above all, to see every angle of these atrocities with our own eyes, recorded by people like you and me. Maybe it is the darkest before the dawn. I believe in the basic goodness of people. Power, human unaliving to gain wealth are still used by the powers that be. There are no words to explain greed and excuse it with violence. As humans, we have seen the impossible atrocities of slavery, the Geno and subjugation of American Indians, the rise of the Third Reich, and the Holocaust. The Japanese internment camps right here on American soil. The Geno in Rwanda, the brutal truth of racism hidden beneath Holocaust. The Japanese internment camps right here on American soil. The Geno in Rwanda, the brutal truth of racism hidden beneath the agenda of a toxic, patriarchal father knows best attitude, again shakes our world. The attacks that the red, white, and blue team has fended off, and the revenge that takes sent over mindfulness and empathy to the triggers that bring about repercussion has the world currently holding its breath. I am very aware of the human heart's great capacity for love and empathy, but I am also very aware of how easy humans choose to shut down and cement their hearts closed. Fear of being hurt is never an acceptable excuse to shut ourselves down from our humanity, and our capacity to love is the most precious gift we offer ourselves. I have witnessed magic within our human race, forgiveness of impossible acts so brutal that many of us could not forgive. Yet some souls rose above the chaotic voice of the false ego to offer forgiveness in order to seek refuge within the arms of peace. And so it is with our past lives. We will repeat mistakes and egoic-based illusions from one past life to another. Radical self-acceptance and recapitulation, self-forgiveness and repair is the only way out of the perpetual conveyor belt of repeating toxic loops. Our current bloodlines were chosen for a reason, for they most likely reverberate unhealed past lives. Our past bloodlines quite often hold the key to what was left undone. And so when your soul downloads a particular memory, trust that within these images are answers to help you in your current life. Our angst of being awake and aware of the vibrational injustice can cause such impotent rage and grief that often the choice is to escape one's current incarnation. More is being asked of us, for we still don't understand the amount of power we hold with our will to create better. Throughout this life, I've been fascinated by reincarnation. I first recall choosing my parents when I was 3 years old. By the time I was 8 years old, I had a very focused view of the beyond, and I trusted in the unseen. Light beings visited me, though I would not call them light beings until decades passed, and my understanding of guides began to expand. At 13 years old, I was a lone wolf and never quite fit in with others my age. I would take nude moon baths, somehow understanding the frequency of the full moon upon my skin could somehow feed me with a different energy in the way I sought sunbathing. I suffered from insomnia and would often stay up till 3, 5 o'clock in the morning, tucked snugly beneath my blankets, my little radio pressed against my ear lest I wake anyone in the household, voraciously listening to random AM radio station interview retired pilots and other whistleblowers about Area 51 and UFOs. Many truths can barely be accepted by the 3D brain, aka the monkey mind. 3D logic cannot be trusted as absolute truth since 3D logic is often based on the current norms of a society that has limited view of what is true and what is possible. Intuitively understanding that more had to be understood about the nature of reality and the limitation of these 3D brains, I was driven to read, to seek knowledge that was not part of my public and private school education. I began reading books on Atlantis, Lemuria, the Akashic Library, history, third eye openings, dolphin babies, Tibet, the CIA, and the KGB using remote viewing to spy on each other. Starseeds incarnating on other planets, the purpose of our incarnation, and I explored how past life traumas impacted our current incarnations, which we often drag back from one life to the next. My fascination for the unseen, the veils that parted us from infinite knowledge, became my passion. Within a few months of meeting my twin, at the tender age of 18 years old, I began to teach myself divination via the use of tarot cards. We are finally learning how the 19th century Egyptologists, anthropologists, and historians contrived, subjugated, hid, denied, and destroyed ancient truth that brought a darkness to an age that should have been more enlightened. But here we are. The divine feminine is rising from the ashes, as is the divine masculine. We are learning about Mary Magdalena and Yeshua. Every year, more light is being exposed to those who wish to see. There is nothing romantic or wonderful about the past life I'm sharing with you, but it explains to me why I have shunned power within myself and why power in others frightened me for multiple incarnations. I had seen power used with greed and violence. Not much has changed since I lived as this Queen Bakor. I know my purpose now, thus I will never again look over my shoulder wondering why I exist. I know this path, for I have chosen it. What matters now isn't what I was, but what I am to become because of this incarnation. Bakor has taught me how a woman can love two men and get so confused by it that she loses her grip on reality. Bakor taught me that she could only navigate what she was equipped to understand, and Kat taught me the power of forgiving the unforgivable. There are no right answers, and nothing overrides your own past life experiences. Thus, what you are about to read is just one humble scroll upon the wide expanse of the Akashic records, which may or may not resonate with you. Recall was originally birthed in 2012, published by a small publishing house that soon defunct due to the overwhelming task of competing with the big publishing houses. Now I'm re-releasing this book as a creative nonfiction. Why? Because I will take my own advice and stop dimming my light to make others comfortable. In fact, I've taken a sledgehammer to that dimmer switch with a no longer operation, for it only offers one setting, bright as fuck. This is a story that burned bright during a barbaric time. Many of the experiences you will read were downloaded over a period of months. When I finished writing the book, I decided that no one would believe these experiences. After all, had I not seen how Carlos Castaneda's books and Lynn Andrews' books on shamanic experience had been debunked as fiction? And so I decided to publish Recall as a work of fiction. This book demanded to be birthed, howled to be birthed. I have been many, both masculine and feminines. I have loved my own gender and opposite genders. Our souls are in truth androgynous, but some of us prefer one costume over another. I have embodied many egoic illusions under the banner of bloodlines. I have loved and I have hated with equal measure. I have walked in light and I have walked in darkness. I have experienced all religions, both recalled and those long forgotten. I have been a loving husband and a barbarian. I have been a loving wife and I have been a high priestess who used power to destroy the innocent. I have been good and kind. I have loved and I have lost. I have been homesick, the kind of homesickness that sometimes grabs the heart and squeezes the very breath out of me. This feeling has never left my soul. We all want to go back home. We'll accomplish the goal of going back home. None of us are exempt from that success. What matters is simple. What you do while you're here. What will you learn, release, forgive, heal, and teach? So understand this one truth. When you heal, I heal. When I heal, you heal. That alone is enough to understand how we are all so connected. I hope that within the pages of this book, something begins to stir in your own soul to bring forth a past life you need to make peace with. Sending you much love on your journey. Namaste. So that's the basic opening of author's note. And of course, dedication. And then I'm going to give you a couple quotes that I thought was pretty amazing. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor in the future shall any of you cease to be. Krishna, Bhagavad Gita. I know I am deathless. No doubt I've died myself 10,000 times before. I laugh at what you call dissolution. I know the amplitude of time. Walt Whitman. Let's begin. So this is the prologue. It's prologue, the Fertile Crescent, 3,500 years BCE. 30 sunrises had brought forth the image of a god, tall as the cedars that grow in the forest of Besh Hadem. This warrior's face with a shield from view, he wore a ram's headdress, and clenched between his hands was a sword, which he raised towards the heavens, his head thrown back, releasing a howl that rose like smoke from the bowels of his being. There was always blood upon his chest and hands, dripping upon his bare thighs onto the floor. I always awoke with the sound of his cries echoing within the walls of my mind, and would abruptly sit up, shivering and sweat-drenched. The bottoms of my feet trembled. As if I'd been running, I would lie awake for hours before Malik rose. It was that very vision that brought me before the oracle. She lived in one of the many caves that overlooked our green valley. I sat upon my heels and felt ill in my being, and my belly trembled like 100 butterflies were trapped within. I had not spoken of the dream to Malik, nor had I told him that I sought her this day, for I felt that to speak the words to him would unleash the dream from within my being into the bright sunlight of our world. So when she uttered the following words, "You are not from this world," I was baffled. "Who is?" I answered softly. For who could tell from whence our souls came? Had we not been created by the great mothers, Isis and Ishtar? Or had we come from the stars, as my brothers had often told me? She ignored my answer, and allowed the silence to hang between us like a winged spirit that hovered above us for what seemed like an eternity of breaths. 2 torches hung on either side of the cave. Their flames moved and swayed as a cool wind blew in from the opening. It cast brittle shadows upon her ancient face, her hollow cheekbones jagged beneath the circles of her obsidian eyes, as if devoid of a soul. Her hair was alive, eternally youthful, swimming around her hips, undulating, rich and fertile as the land she came from. It shone blue-black without a streak of white. So it was her face. Ah, yes, her weathered face, which had taken the toll of our tale as a people. Wrinkle by wrinkle had sunk their story until she was no more than a skeletal visage, overlaid by white skin, mapped by very fine little blue veins. She had been my mother's oracle, and her mother before her. No one knew how old she was, though her ugliness made me shiver with revulsion. I needed to know what my dream meant. We were a kingdom, abundantly blessed by our beloved goddess Ishtar, mother to us all. We were the people of the Fertile Crescent, and that meant that we were a prosperous people. I nodded for her to continue. Her voice was low, yet unravaged by time and as clear as my own. One day, your great hanging gardens will be remembered beyond this time. Men of a faraway future will fly in strange chariots, and yet they will speak of your gardens with great admiration, but your name will be lost. She paused, never once looking at me. I stared at her, my eyes wide with question. Explain yourself, woman. They will remember your gardens, but my dear and noble queen, you will be forgotten. You will be as inconsequential as the dust beneath your feet. I was not here for trite prognostication. I had sought her in order to get this man out of my dreams. I wanted the howling madness of his cry out of my head. What did I care if my gardens were remembered? I wanted to ensure my kingdom's safety. She rose abruptly and disappeared to the innermost cave of the of the cave, and returning with a small goatskin bag, she poured the contents upon the small cave carpet that lay upon us, and the bones that had been sacrificed for such prophecies spilled out. The carpet was a small weave that barely covered my knees and shins if I were to prostrate myself upon it to beg Ishtar for my most fervent desires. It was blood red, and the threads of an indigo sky crossed to interweave with the original color of the animal's tan hue. The whole of it was a barbaric design of skulls and patterns of bygone symbols that I did not understand. I sat upon my heels, lifting the linen tunic up to my thighs so as not to tear it. My bare knees pressed upon the hard ground, the hood of my dark red cloak fell away to reveal my face. My dark hair was rich with the red highlights from the henna I used upon it, and swirled upon my pale shoulders and small breasts. My nipples hardened from the cold and my fear. I looked down upon myself, but I could not find pleasure in my beauty, nor of my newly acquired possessions. One tunic of the finest linen imaginable, as thin as a spider's silk, it was pale lilac with 100 pleats. It had traveled from Egypt with many other riches, such as a gold girdle set with smooth round stones of purple fires that sat low upon my hips, rounded by the births of my children. And one day, you will recall us, she continued. A thousand lifetimes from now, you will return to us, tearing back the veils of time. It will be your Malik, your king, who will guide you back. My face tightened, my neck hurt. I leaned forward, my eyes intent on disrobing the truth. Tell me of the vision. What is our future? I implored. She did not look at me, but picked up the bones once again and shook them between white hands, bony, blue-veined, and paper-thin with wrinkles. She threw them upon the carpet and leaned deeply into them, as if sniffing them with her nose. Speak truth, you will not be harmed, I said impatiently, my heart pounding so hard that it pained me to even breathe. A conqueror is coming. She paused. My hands knotted into themselves, and then I held them, still, fingers squeezing each other, and felt the pain of my grip. My queen, she whispered. I cannot say more. I dare not. Truth! I was relentless. She tore her gaze away from the bones and locked eyes with mine. You will perish. I felt my breath escape like a goatskin wine bag pierced by a sword, and now, sighing out the message of death, a tear fell from my eye to stream down my left cheek. What can we do? I was now supplicant in my tone. She stared at the fallen bones and then shook her head. This is the fate of this dynasty. Nothing can be done. Your bodies will die in this life, but your souls are immortal, and you will go on again. Do not fear, my queen. This is but a passage from one reality to the next. She leaned toward me and was about to touch my hand in comfort when she realized she was forbidden to touch royalty. To do so meant death. I leaned towards her and held her hand in mine, twining my fingers with hers as I had done with my own mother, and for that brief moment I felt comforted. My children, I asked. Her eyes filled with tears, or so I thought. Or perhaps the light of the torches lit her eyes with a glimmer I had not seen before. Finally she answered, I cannot say. I could not push her. I was afraid to. I tossed a purse filled with coins upon the ground. It lay between us. I threw my hood over my hair. I stood up and stared down at the bones for a long time, and then walked away. Nothing more needed to be said. At the mouth of the cave stood my slave, a tall Nubian. He had been waiting and was holding in his large hand the elaborate decorated leather bridle that looped simply over my gray mare's noose and jaw. He was holding a torch which blinded me for but a moment until my eyes adjusted to the sinking light of the sun. I rubbed my mare's soft, downy mouth, adoring the warmth and scent of her. She licked the palm of my hand in greeting. I lifted my tunic and nodded to my slave to hoist me upon her back. Wrapping my thighs across her middle, I dug my knees into her, and she moved forward. The winds had risen since my arrival. I imagined they were howling of a conqueror coming, of a doom waiting to descend. I shivered. My queen, he whispered. I shielded my face from his prying eyes. I kicked the sides of my mare, and we trotted down into my beloved valley, towards the city and gardens I so loved. The skies, dark pink and purple streaks had vanished, replaced by an indigo stillness, lit by bright stars, and a full moon had risen to claim her royal right to rule the night. Below, My beloved city was aglow with torches and lanterns. In fact, the whole city glowed. This cannot be, I thought. This glimmering jewels cannot be doomed. Yet deep in my heart, I knew the truth of it. And then quite suddenly, it occurred to me that I had not asked her from which world I came. What did she mean? I shrugged, shaking the feeling of fear out of my being and replacing it with hope. I forced a small smile which lightened my heart. I would see her again soon enough, and then I could ask her. For now, I was alive. The whole city was alive, and a peace was a blanket the setting sun had deposited upon our land. So that is the beginning of the book. Recall is captivating. I was fully invested in the journey, enjoyed it. You're talented. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you liked it. I think it's a book I've had a hard time sharing, or like trying to share it publicly, because there's a feeling of being uncomfortable, in terms of. But I'm gonna like I promised, I'm gonna share chapter Pasadena, California, September 8th, 1997. So, this is the part that may have gotten me banned from TikTok, just saying. I read somewhere that Lilith was Adam's first wife. God created them instantaneously, which made them equal in every respect. They were said to be created in God's image. Lilith was a spirited and sensual creature. She wanted to F Adam and ride him to the promised land, so to speak. Adam refused. Shocked by her vantanness, revolted by her desire to straddle his and take his power. How dare she? He was furious. I can imagine her derisive laugh. He wanted her submissive and grateful. He wanted her on her hands and knees with her in the air waiting to be. A battle of wills erupted. Adam lost. Lilith stormed out of the Garden of Eden to seek other amusement. She stumbled upon an orgy and partied her ass off. Meanwhile, Adam was in a rage. He whined to God that Lilith was disobedient. He pleaded for a new companion, so God made Eve from Adam's rib. Eve understood her place. Well fed from her bacchanalian escapades, Lilith returned. She found that she'd been replaced, and all hell broke loose. There are countless versions of Lilith's tale. What I know for a fact is that she appears again and again in many different texts. We see her in the Kabbalah, the Epic of Gilgamesh. The Sumerians speak of her. She appears in the Dead Sea Scrolls, in classic Greek tales. Some argue that she appears in the Bible. Some say she is the serpent who tempts Eve with the forbidden fruit. Eventually she would morph into the great mother Ishtar, the beloved Mesopotamian goddess of fertility. But before judging the tales as false, think about it. Women have always been marginalized. My mother once told me that the Catholic Church didn't recognize women as having souls until the 17th century. Try wrapping your head around that one. Later, I read somewhere that the soulless woman concept originated from the infamous Council of Nicaea in 325 ACE, when bishops from all over the world got together to put the scrolls together that made the Bible. As they were talking about cutting this gospel and adding that one, the subject of women came up. Put a bunch of men in a room and women always come up in conversation. This time, the hot debate was whether we had souls or not. Now it got pretty volatile, and so they decided to vote on it. So when the bishops counted the vote that was pro-female having souls, that camp won by just one vote. One fucking vote, just one. Imagine our lives had it gone the other way. Yeah, it could have been even worse. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Supposedly the Catholic Church says that it's an unfounded rumor, but weren't they the same group that took out the bit about any reference to reincarnation? Yeah, the same badass bishops. Some say that it never happened at the Council of Nicaea, but instead claims that the aforementioned happened in France, in Macon, Burgundy, in 585 ACE, with another set of bishops who launched a very similar conversation and voted. The way the rumor was spread was that a scholar by the name of Valentinus Acidalius, short on cash, took the rumor from the Macon meeting and wrote a little pamphlet meant to elicit titters among the well-heeled and raise some quick cash by selling the idea that women could not have a soul based on some linguistic translation of homo, which did not include female in its context. And that, my friend, confirmed that we didn't have souls. The good news is it backfired. There were many who refuted this with a ferocity that basically destroyed Valentinus. Sadly, a handful of pamphlets survived and were reproduced in France in the end, does it all matter if this was a rumor started damn near 1700 years ago? I mean, as it stands, there's no doubt that the patriarchal society of its day thought of females as subhuman, grade B souls, if souls at all. But then the Catholic Church states that all creatures have some kind of souls. Is that how they saw us back then, as creatures? Look, this kind of shit doesn't faze me anymore. There's been too much of it. It wasn't until 1972 that a woman in the U.S. got her first credit card. Ergo, we have been a sex that had been shit on from the day Lilith told God to F off. Anger issues? A rabid feminist me? Believing in reincarnation as I do, I know that I've been men many times before. And the irony is this. I may have been one of those bishops at one of those infamous councils that voted against women. Life is funny that way. So this is what I'll share with you. We're going to do some oracle readings. Any comments or questions? So if you want to buy the book, it's on my Linktree profile, and you'll see it available there. And you can buy it on Amazon. And believe me, I wish I didn't have to sell it on Amazon, but unfortunately that's the only way. And you can get it on Kindle. Any questions or comments? Did anybody else read the book? You can comment good or bad. It's all good. Anybody want to comment on the book? Did anybody else read the book that thought it was good or bad? Or it's very erotic, is it not? I want to read it. It's on my Linktree. So, and it gets very, very erotic. And it goes back and forth into time. Past, present. And it's all set during the Y2K conversion. Okay? And what you're going to read, Daniel, in the present, 1997, is my husband. And Creo is my twin. And what's interesting though is I spun it so that it looked like they were the same person. And so, I started the book. I love the beginning so far. Beautiful, great. Any other questions? Anybody else that read it that thought it was a fast read? I mean, to me, you can't talk about reincarnation until you talk about how things were oppressed and suppressed from our knowledge. Does that make sense? It's very important in my opinion, when you write a book, that you bring people to the past to bring them to the present, for them to understand our journey as women in these particular incarnations. Okay. Any questions or comments? Any other questions or comments? Let me see if I missed anyone else. So thank you for listening. Thank you very much for listening. So, I don't want, now that you're starting the book, let me, hang on, okay? So one of the things that you'll see is a different sexuality between the two incarnations. In other words, the brutality and what women have to do to survive and to thrive. Like, you can look at Cleopatra and see what she had to do. I mean, come on, she's like a teenager. I think she's 14 years old when she meets Caesar. And she knew that Caesar had to be her way to survive, or else she would not make it. So she had to seduce him, right? So similarly, you'll see with Bakor, her name is Bakor. And she, exactly how I meet Malik, verbatim is how it happened. So when you read the part when we meet, it's verbatim. And what that means is that you're going to see us on AOL, because it happened in 1997. And AOL was in its infancy, as you all know. There was MSN, and there was AOL, and there was Earthlink. There were very small chat groups and shit like that. And you could put your bio, okay? This is when we had floppy disks and shit like that. And what's interesting about me and Malik, in this incarnation, in this timeline, we never physically met. We never heard each other's voice. It was all telepathy and psychic connections back and forth and typing. And usually in those days, when you were chatting, when men came up to you to chat, it was always, what are you wearing? And all kinds of weird ass shit like that. This was the only experience. I would block him, like, what the fuck, get out of here. But this was the only experience where this man recognized my name. And he was a psychic as well, he told me. And he lived in Paris. And he was Persian. And that's when we started communicating. and unravel this life, which was really important. It was a very important life to remember and heal. And so that's why it's important to remember. Really, really important. I'm going to go ahead and Andromeda, you're here. Oh, wonderful. Any comments on the book? Do you want to share anything that you think was good about the book? Because I know you did a review for me, which was so beautiful. A video review, which was absolutely beautiful review, which I actually have to post, actually, come to think of it. I'm going to go ahead and pull out Oracle decks from this deck. It's probably the only deck I absolutely adore, by Colette Baron Reed. Okay, Colette Baron Reed. It's called the Mystical Shaman Oracle Guidebook. And it is absolutely fucking stunning. I haven't used it for a long time. In fact, I've never used it except for last night I started using it. And it was like unbelievable. And let me read to you this quote from the box of this particular deck. It says, before there was a time, before there was language, there were the sacred symbols. Isn't that beautiful? Before there was a time, before there was language, they were the sacred symbols. Amazing, right? Okay. All right, let me go ahead and shuffle the cards. And I want you guys to pick top, bottom, or middle. And we're going to get some readings. We're going to see what you're being guided to do, guided to see, guided to understand, okay? It's a beautifully written, exhilarating story through incarnations and repeated challenges. Thank you, my love. Top, top, top. It's essential reading. Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. It should elicit a lot of awakenings for you, you know? Okay, so top, bottom, or middle. Top, bottom, or middle. Again, we're reading from the Mystical Shaman Oracle Guidebook. Okay? We are reading from the Mystical Guidebook. Top, top. Okay, I'm going top. The Smoky Mirror. The Smoky Mirror. Okay, so let's read from the Smoky Mirror. The number on Smoky Mirror, I can't fuck, Andromeda, it's 47. It's him again. He's constantly here. Like today, I was talking to Natasha, and 1223 came up when I was talking about my son and height. He came up, and he was in my meditation today. So my twin keeps coming up again and again. My twin communicates with me every day. I think I'm going to do, we'll be talking about I think I might do a couple contents today on when your twin dies. I think it's important that I share some knowledge and some hope for many of you. All right, so let me go ahead and go to 47. And let me read that to you. So it's called the Smoky Mirror. And so it's Buddha sitting with the sun behind him. And he's sitting on water. And his reflection is on the water. Okay? The Smoky Mirror. The essence. The Smoky Mirror represents the aspect of what is implied yet cannot be immediately known in the world. The mystery of how things come together and how they fall apart without obvious causality. This symbol also represents the shadow of the human psyche, the parts of the self that one disowns. Did you hear that? Let's repeat it. The Smoky Mirror also represents the shadow of the human psyche, the parts of the self that one disowns. Okay? Like, absorb that. The Smoky Mirror can also represent a state of denial or the inability or refusal to see the truth. If you come into that place of refusing to see the truth, you jail yourself from actually being free. Self-excavation takes a lot of courage, tenacity, ferocity, gentleness, compassion to what is seen. 1223 is when my late husband dropped my body. Well, you can't make that shit up, my friend. You cannot make that shit up. Because on 1223, we were celebrating his birthday and singing happy birthday to him. That was in 2023. In fact, 1223, we were celebrating his birthday. So God bless you. Who knew you and I would meet, huh? Who knew? The invitation. When the symbol of the smoky mirrors appears, you're invited to see beyond your own self. Acknowledge that. Past the limits of your current ability to perceive. There's a vast, interconnected world where events are orchestrated in divine order but challenging to fully grasp. Now is the time to trust that no matter what the current conditions of your world reflects, in the hidden realms, all aspects of the human journey are celebrated. The beauty and the darkness, the misery and the courage. No matter where you are on your journey, know that some things are meant to be a mystery. Did you hear that? No matter where you are on your journey, know that some things are meant to be a mystery, which you are meant to understand only through experience. Did you get that? Take heart, for the smoky mirror will ultimately show you beauty and wonder once the fog lifts the distortion you see now. The medicine. Understanding the shadow of the human journey requires that you go deep into your story to discover the wound that prevents you from seeing the truth of your current situation. Your fears and expectations of disappointments and unworthiness may be clouding your capacity to see the potential in yourself and others. The smoky mirrors may be showing you things you don't want as a result of your conditioning. Let me repeat that. The smoky mirrors may be showing you things that you don't want as a result of your conditioning. There can become even more real, but only because you are making it so. The choice is yours. The world will hold you accountable for what you see and create. Can you see through the eyes of truth and faith instead? Wow. Perfect timing for me. Wonderful, Jacqueline. Let's do another one from the same deck. And then we'll pull out a crystal mandala card. Me and Andromeda both have that deck, and we love that deck. In fact, I didn't even know Andromeda had it until she pulled it for me. I went, wait, hang on. I know that deck. All right. Wow, exactly. So, top, bottom, or middle. Tony, what do you do with my random fearful thoughts of my twin flame moving on to another woman? This is your lack energy. Because even, and this is very, there are two things. One is your lack energy, number one. Two, your fear that he's going to move on to another woman is so powerful because fear as an emotion, and will co-create with the universe as much as bliss and knowing he's going to be with you. See, so you have to choose your medicine, because either fear or blissful, euphoric, knowing that he's going to be with you, those two emotions are polar opposites, but both are powerful enough to create what you want or what you don't want. That's my answer to you. And that's why we keep telling you to chant. Because as long as you let your monkey mind fucking go into this place of he's going to find another woman, he's going to be with another woman, let me put it this way. In some cases, he may need to be with another woman for a certain allotted time. I'm just letting you know. Okay, I'm not saying that's his story, by the way. That's not, I'm not picking up on anything. Don't mistake what I'm saying to you. But it may be that another woman comes into his realm and teaches him how to be a better lover, a better man. And then she moves on because she has a soul contract with a higher soulmate. Or he moves on. He lets her go to be with you. But I guess my question would be, is this a twin flame? Who told you it was a twin flame? How do you know it's a twin flame? And the reason I'm challenging you like that is not to be mean or abrupt. Is to say, I've seen too many people like loop and loop and loop, and it's not a fucking twin flame. As a matter of fact, let me put it this way to you. Again, I'm going to bring this up, and you guys that follow me know the story. I have a dear friend I've known for 30 fucking years, 32 years today. And she is, because it never ends, but she was in a twin flame journey where she was celibate for like 15 years, said no to all these men when she could still do it. But here's the thing. He kept going with other women, younger women. I'm going to be honest, better looking women, but not anything better than her, because there was her twin. She was drink, telepathy, this, that, and the other, and it destroyed her. She got throat cancer. And many women who hold on and hold on and hold on, it makes them sick. That's why I'm very, 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 very careful when I tell someone it's a twin flame. That's why I do numerology. I do a whole bunch of things, and I ask a lot of questions. I can tell you a few things. I realize he's my twin. No, not here, not now. This is, if you want a reading, you can book a reading. Okay. We can book a reading. If you want to talk to me, then, go ahead and go to my website, tonybarca.com or sacredwombtemplehealing.com. Fill out the intake form. Make sure you give me your phone number. If you're in Russia, Algeria, I don't give a shit where you are. I can call you on WhatsApp. It's all good. and then we can chat a little bit, but I will book a reading, okay? That's how I do it. Does that make sense? And it's $108 for 1 hour. If you decide to do a what I call a foundational reading, if you want to do a foundational reading added with the Akashic Records reading, it's $162. Okay, and so one's 60 minutes and the other one's 90 minutes, 20 minutes. I meditate on my own to get the downloads, and I quite often get, any of you who've done an Akashic reading, please share your experience right now if you don't mind. Like Yessie, if you could, not exactly what happened to you, but share. Did it help you? Did the Akashic reading help you? Okay. Yes, if you could, if you want to share it, did it help you or not? Because I know that when you find out how you fell, it's a big fucking deal. It changes the trajectory of your life. Why? Well, because at that point, you just found out, I fell because I was attacked. I fell because I was playing God. I fell because I was in Atlantis when it fell. And something I'd never felt before, fear, because fear is not in 5D. Fear is a 3D construct. 3D, 2D, whatever. So the minute fear comes into play, you're fucked. You are fucked. Period. End of story. That's it. You fall. If you try to match someone's frequency, you fall. That's why light beings will not come onto this planet. They won't fucking do it. Because they're like, no, amnesia, spiritual Alzheimer's, spiritual dementia. Hell no, fuck, we're not doing that because we don't know. We think we know. Oh yeah, I'll remember. Boom. Oh shit. Oh shit, there's a movie called, what was it called? Oh my God, there's a movie, yes, it helped me realize why my fears were so intense and helped me with past life connections. It supported me enormously, really, it did. So you see what I mean? It's really important. And so I never thought of asking those questions, how did they fall? But now when I ask, 9 times out of 10, I get the answer. I'm shown how you fall. And it's because the Akashic keepers, the guardians of the Akashic records, will bring me what I need. There are many, many levels of falling, because I remember falling, and I got it from taking San Pedro, the grandfather medicine. Okay, that's how I saw. And I thought it was an individual thing for me, me and my twin. I didn't know that I could, because, we have 2 stories of how we fell from grace, right? One is the Garden of Eden, and it's a biblical story. It's a story that's told in many different scriptures from different religious, whatever. And then the other one in the spiritual New Age is that we fell during Atlantis. Well, guess what? Wrong. On both counts. For some, was Atlantis the domino that hit them? Yeah, for some that is true. But for some, when we fell from 7D, 8D, 9D, it was a long time before even this planet was fully formed, or as it was being formed. I saw one person who fell 3,000 years ago. In other words, she'd been doing her thing on other planets as a starseed, meaning, other sentient beings as different species on different planets and so forth, Pleiadian, Sirian, this, that, and the other, for a long time. And it was a shock for me to see that. And whenever I'm shocked, I always get confirmation. I'll give you an example. It's an example I use all the time, but because it's such a simple one. So I saw one of my clients, it's not how she fell, it's how she was. She was a guardian of the unicorns. And she adored unicorns. And this woman is a badass, she's got a Harley Davidson type of personality. Does that make sense? In other words, she's a badass. She's a fucking Amazon in her demeanor. And so when I got the download, I was, fuck, I'm not, how? And they're like, write it down. Just write it down. Write it down. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll write it down. And when I told her that, I was like almost shy, saying, and then they're saying that, one of your spirit animals is a unicorn and that you were a unicorn keeper, used to take care of them, blah, blah, blah. And I told all kinds of personal things I'm not going to get into. But she said, oh my gosh, she started laughing. I thought she was laughing, And she said, the house I bought it because on one of the windows was a unicorn sticker, and that's what gave me the sign to buy it. She's been seeing unicorns all over the place ever since I told her. But she's always had a thing for unicorns. So the universe will always give me confirmation that I'm not Delulu, okay? Just so you know. They always do. And that really gave me like, wow, fuck, who would have known, right? So you have to make sure, my point to all this, you have to make sure it's a twin. You have to make sure. Because I had a guy who I met who was past lives, and I mention him all the time, all the fucking time. 4 incarnations, 3 unalivings by our own hands, okay? Not good. No bueno, okay? So I went ahead and I realized that I needed to, thank God I never even held his hand. We would take walks, have coffee, talk, and the sexual connection was off the fucking charts. And so when I realized from the hypnotherapy session that I did that this was a choice. See, sometimes you guys, you meet people you're connected to, the opposite gender or same gender, whatever the hell it is in your case, and you think it's about going to bed with them. It isn't. You better check your shit. Because if you're having colliding information, desire and fear, desire and blah, blah, desire and whatever, right? You better go get into hypnotherapy to see what the fuck is this, okay? I was lucky because I've done hypnotherapy since I was 32 as a client, right? Me being a client. So that by the time I got to that age, I was able to slip into hypnotherapy and demand to know what it was. And I was given exactly what I needed to know, okay, on the side note. But I broke karma and I felt it. I felt like some chains had fallen off me. When I decided that I would never even consider talking to him, going out for coffee ever again, that it was done. But I did it with kindness. I hugged him and said, have a good life and have fun out there in the world. That was it. Was there a feeling of loss and this and that? Well, yeah, I had at least 4 past lives with him that were very intimate and very... there must have been some nectar in those moments with him, but damn, the price was high. So when I let him go, it took a year to get over it. But most of these people, if I had gone to a basic psychic, they would have told me it was a twin flame, and it wasn't, not even by a long shot. I know his date of birth and the year he was born. I never once saw his numbers, never once. But I see my son's numbers, my mother's numbers, and I definitely see my twin all over the place. All over the place, still to this day. So when you go to psychics who use confetti, the term twin flame, like it's fucking confetti, and Andromeda flame, Andromeda was saying, well, you know, they see the king and queen of cups, and suddenly it isn't the queen and king of cups. The king and queen of cups means something, love is coming towards you. It means that there's an agreement, a spiritual agreement that now it looks like if you have a choice, you have free will, that if you decide to say yes to that, this person is also interested in being with you. That's what it means. They're coming towards you. It doesn't mean anything else, okay, on that level. It takes a lot more archetypal cards to fall on my fucking table, and I need to get downloads. I'm asking questions. I've done your numerology. I've done all kinds of shit to fucking make sure. If I say it's a twin flame, I'm pretty much sure. Now, are people who are in twin flame journeys ignorant? Yes, they are. Why? Well, because they're in 3D. They're in 3D. Okay? Maybe they're supposed to open up in 10 years from now. I don't know. I know that when I met my twin at 18 and he was 33, even he knew it was a soul connection. But for us to fully align to that truth, it didn't come until 2014. That's a long-ass time. But to be fair, we were alive and young in the 20th century when there was a lot of density on this planet. A lot of density, a lot of bad density, a lot of funky shit that David Icke was trying to warn us about the elite and the fuckery of the elite, of the ghetto that happened in Rwanda. No one did a fucking thing. Okay? So all I'm saying to you is that if you are in the 21st century with all of the light codes that are coming down to all of us. So look, if you have an iPhone, I don't know about Androids, but I know that if you have an iPhone at night, your phone is upgraded with new software. You know this, we all know this. Well, guess what? All of us on the planet are being upgraded. All of us. What we do with these upgrades is our business. Okay? Doesn't matter if the computer has a virus, which means the deviancy that you're seeing amongst men and women right now. The computer might have a virus, right? But it's still been upgraded. And there's a point where if the virus is too entrenched in the computer, what happens? It blacks out. It shuts down. It will not work anymore. It cannot take any more downloads. Am I correct? No. Well, similarly, that's what happens when humans get too much in their deviancy. and they're evil. They shut down completely in consciousness, and now the light codes that are meant for them on an automatic pilot type system stops. And it continues for people like you and me who are still seeking truth, and it just happens, right? So you should be aware of what is going on around you in regards to the link, the synchronicity of your twin. You should be aware of that. And if you're not, and if it's not happening, then to be honest, that is a mark. Obsession, sexual desire does not make it a twin flame, my friend. That's my point. And what I find, I'm highly irritated by psychics who fucking use their platforms or whatever on as is their experts. And me and Andromeda had a wonderful live where we talked about the fact that most of these content creators are not even in a twin flame journey. In fact, most of them aren't even in union. They've never been in union. What I mean by that is 2 weeks doesn't make you a union. I'm talking about years of being in union. Years. And being runner chaser and, not calling each other for a month or two and then being back on the phone with each other, back meeting together, back making love again, shit like that, right? Okay? But most of them met their twin for 2 days and that was it. Some of them, they have never even met their twin. It's all online shit. And they met and there's no, it's a one-sided love affair. It's one-sided, meaning the twin, supposedly, is not the male twin or whoever they're chasing is not even feeling them on any level. Okay? And they've never even seen their twin eye to eye. Never. And I'm using the word twin loosely here, okay? Just to make sure that you guys understand what I'm talking about. It's not a twin. It's a soulmate at best. And that's its best. When I do readings, and I have clients I've had for 5 years who are on twin flame journeys, and I'll throw the cards and we'll laugh and I go, I'm gonna read, because I always read the cards out and explain what they mean, and I'll say, look at all the fucking cards that again confirm your twin flames, but we weren't even asking about that. We were asking about X, Y, and Z, and they laugh and I go, yeah, that's how it works. It just falls into play constantly. It's the same fucking cards. I don't care if you're fighting, divorcing, blocking, ghosting, whatever is happening. The messages are always, it's weird. And then I'll get another client. Look, let me put it this way. When I asked in my readings to myself if I was going to own a house in California, it was no. And it was no for fucking years. Years. It never changed its answer. Pendulums, wands, it didn't matter. When it's a no, it's a hell to the no. So when I do twin flame readings and I keep seeing no, I tell it, no. Oh, well, but I know it's, and I'm like, okay, well, listen, I understand if that's what you feel like it's your twin. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to argue and beat someone down. That's not my point. But the reason why I'm going to tell them that it's a no, and I see that it's a no on my own downloads, on my own feelings, on the questions they can't answer with the right answers, and which I won't divulge here clearly. I'm trying to get them not to suffer at all. And then guess what? I've done this. Listen, can we see if a twin's coming towards you? Boom, twin. Oh yeah, there you go. He's a twin. He's coming. But I really want this guy. I just want this guy. I go, well, no matter what, you're going to meet your twin. Up to you what you want to do with that. Up to you. You'll meet at a Starbucks, a cafe, a restaurant, whatever, at the laundromat. You'll meet. And if you're not interested, free will, my friend. But you're meeting this person. You can't stop this. The meeting it's divinely set. There's a divine appointment. It's happening. What you do with that is your free will. So I'm really serious about twin flame, readings. I'm really, because I've seen people suffer for twin flames. As a matter of fact, if a twin flame is toxic, I have a client like that where the twin flame is toxic as fuck. Oh, it can't be a twin if it's toxic. Yes, it can. We're human beings. And if it's toxic, then the work we have to do is to figure out what the lessons are, what the next steps are. Homework is given. Spiritual coaching kicks in immediately. And then we find out if there's a high-level soulmate coming. Like I did a reading for a woman recently, and yeah, she's got a high-level soulmate coming her way. Next year. Done deal. Great guy. He's going to love the shit out of her. She's going to love the shit out of him. The twin is too fucked up. And as a matter of fact, this twin that she's going to meet is going to be outside the country. She wants to go, I think, Greece. Outside the country. And beautiful, beautiful woman. And she went, well, I'm not sure about the money. And she got hair extensions. I go, okay, look, enjoy your hair extensions. But for the next, until May or June of next year, do not do any hair extension. Put all that, because it's fucking expensive. I think it's from $600 to $1,300. Holy fuck. Put all the hair extension money in your savings account, right? And then and book your trip with a group so you feel safe, because she felt unsafe doing it alone, which I understand. Go to Crete, go to this and that, do 2 weeks, and then the week before you're going to do your trip, or 2 weeks before, do your hair, get some fabulous dresses, and fucking go. Pay all your bills, and then go. You'll have the money. Don't do your hair every 5 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever the fuck. Just throw that money in the savings account, right? So, and she's going to meet him. It's a done deal. And so my job is to make sure that we unearth all the possibilities and what is the healthiest spiritual journey for you. So you're not trapped in a loop that gives you the big C. Because last year I did a live on that particular same subject with my experience, and they're all twin flames, and 2 women came up typing going, I have ovarian cancer. No woman said, I forgot what she had, some other type of cancer. Because it made them physically ill. The pain turned into itself. So my point is, I don't give a shit if it's a twin, if they can't meet you halfway and be your beloved. Whenever I was with my twin, oh my God, the nectar. I'm a kind of passably pretty woman, right? I'd look fucking gorgeous and glowing just being with him, just talking to him, just being in his arms, making love to him, whatever. It was weird. It was weird. So usually a twin flame connection, I don't care if there are problems, fighting, you will look beautiful. If you're pretty, you'll be beautiful. If you're beautiful, you'll be fucking stunning. If you're plain Jane, you'll be pretty and glowing. I'm not kidding. Because a twin flame does something to, I don't know what it does. It's energy, frequency, healing, massively healing. Just incredible. And so when you see pictures of people who are with narcissists, if you've ever seen pictures of before and after, you'll see women who look absolutely fucking gray, ragged, disheveled, fucked up. And then you'll see pictures of them 4 or 5 months later away from their narcissistic person, and they look amazing, fucking amazing. So that's a sign that that's not your twin when it's that bad. Are twins narcissistic? Yes. But the irony of that one is that it doesn't make them look like shit. I don't know how to explain it any other way. And I may sound like word salad Delulu, but trust me, I've been watching and I've been studying narcissism since 2010. And the reason why is because I was realizing, I was coming to terms with my mother and my father and their narcissistic traits based on their traumas as children. And so I started, looking at that and looking at that in myself, in my brother, in my husband, my high-level soulmate's mother. So it's not like I don't know. I've been studying this shit. And I mean, when I say studying, I'm not kidding. Okay, so I kind of know the difference. I'm no expert. I'm not a PhD, but I fucking know what I'm talking about. I did a massive glow up after divorcing my narc ex. Toxicity shows. Exactly. Oh my God. I love the pictures of my twin and I together. We just look natural, glowy, happy. Andromeda Flame, the pictures of you and your twin are fucking out of this world. Out of this fucking world. I wish you could make them public, because sometimes just seeing a couple like that is massively healing. I feel like crying. I feel like those pictures are unbelievable. Unbelievable. You mentioned when you are with your twin, you feel it in the heart chakra, like their heartbeat. Yes. I glow after seeing him. Exactly. Twins make each other more beautiful. Lovely, Mom. It's not that kind of life. Sorry. Oh, thank you. Okay. Thank you guys for taking care of me. I did a massive... Okay. I haven't seen mine yet, but I've been talking to him for over a year now. Beautiful. Oh my God, where are the pics? No, they're private. They're private. You, like the pics I have of me, people didn't see pics of me and my twin until he was gone. They never knew what he looked like. When you are in a twin flame journey, you're very, very fiercely protective of the energy, because there are a lot of trolls, a lot of witchy poo bitches, a lot of jealous people who will put all kinds of weird energy. As a matter of fact, in the next few weeks, I'm going to start taking my pictures down of me and my twin. Believe it or not. Okay? I want to see. Yeah, no, sorry, won't happen. Hello from the car. Yay! Yes, my twin died July 19th of this year. Okay? He died. And I was very honored to take care of him. Well, we were together physically together in September of last year. We started coming into union, back into union in 2022. We came into our first physical union 2014 until 2018, separated for 2 months, where I did my shamanic work. And then we went back together January of 2019, and we had been together ever since until 2021, separated for a year, on the phone, and then finally went into union for the final leg of our journey together on this planet. And it was very, very, probably the most important year of both of our incarnations. And every morning he comes and visits me and tells me how he's doing, the kind of purging and healing he's doing as a divine masculine who was wounded and broken, who was sexually abused, all kinds of shit that he has to clear before I'm able to join him. It's almost like he's cleaning up house so that when I drop my body, there's no delays. Okay? All right. I'm suddenly upon understanding what's happening to me. Yeah, I don't even talk about it, my TF, with anyone, because I am so protective of our energy. Oh, no, I don't see any disrespect. I honor you. Thank you. Glowing on, like we were some comments I received with him. Never thought about that until now. I love how you mentioned that just because you meet a soulmate, it doesn't have to be lustful. Exactly. Thank you. Bless you. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, so if I did not have his company in his energetic way, if we did not have this connection energetically, I would probably not be doing these lives. I would be bereft. I would be fucking broken and lost. But all these years of working on myself, and working on my third eye and and when I say third eye, please don't mistake what I'm saying. What I mean is all my chakras, which included my third eye. And if I hadn't done this kind of thing, and again, now I know why I chose my parents, because my parents were wild. They were my mother was very elegant. She was a French Audrey Hepburn with green eyes. Okay, that's the best way I can describe it. And my father was mixed, African American, German Jewish, and what else was he? And Blackfoot Indian. Beautiful, beautiful reddish skin. And he looked like a Saudi Arabian with the goatee and the whole thing. A very elegant man, had his clothes made in Rome and London on Savile Row, shit like that. He was a very elegant man. But they were fucking bohemian, nomadic. The adventures I could tell you would blow your mind. The kind of shit, my dad was running currency in Africa and pew-pews. And then he went into the movie industry in Rome. So my point is, my life has been very, very... But the one thing they believed in was the fact that psychic energies were real. And so I was never told that what I saw, what I felt. In fact, my father, when I was 3-4 years old, would ask me to tell me, he would ask me, should I trust this man on a business deal? And I would say no or yes. And he went with it, because truth comes from the mouth of babes, right? So I was kind of like his little truth stone, if you know what I mean. So it's kind of wild, right? So my father was actually well known in Accra, Ghana. He was known as the Barracuda. That was his code name in the late 50s and 60s, before I was born. And he was actually well respected. He met some of the presidents in some parts of Africa that were pew-pewed and removed by certain alphabet channels here in this country for their own greed. And that's when he never went back to Africa. He was like, fuck this. So he was a pirate. basically. And he was an incredible forward thinker. And when I was a little girl, we went out to in Europe, people, when you have lunch in Europe, it's not a joke. You sit for 3 or 4 hours, right? No one's like busting your table to get you out to flip the table. No one does that in Europe. No one has tolerance for this. And I have memories of us sitting in restaurants going from lunch, I'm not joking, to dinner. It's like we would stay the whole day, and we never ran around. I would sit there and listen to the adult conversations that were fascinating, because my dad knew Alex Haley, Frank Sinatra, Robert Mitchum. I'm dropping names because the reason I'm dropping names is not to brag, but to tell you that the world in Paris in the 1960s was a very interesting world filled with a lot of movie stars, Hollywood set, and people who talked about all kinds of things. You had, a lot of African Americans were moving to Paris to write books. Richard Wright, Baldwin, all these great guys, Alex Haley, all these guys were coming in. And you had all of these movie stars coming in as well. And so the conversations were very eclectic, very interesting. Frank Sinatra, as you all know, was not a racist man at all. In fact, he was, I remember a story of him, which made me admire him so much, where he walked into a club in New York, and he was going to do a set, right, for the club. And he went, wait, hang on, there's no black musician. No, I'm not doing a set unless you have some black musicians. Like you bet, then I'll perform. So he would force people to integrate. He was definitely not racist on that end at all. And so my point is that psychic energy coming from the Blackfoot Indian, coming from the Blackfoot Indian was his grandmother. She was half African American and half Blackfoot Indian. Literally, she had hair down to her ass, and with gray streaks in it. And she was a ball buster. She was amazing, and she was very psychic. And so I got it from that lineage, from that side because on my French side with my mother, they were Protestant Catholic, French, diehard, 12th century, all that shit, and lineage, and they were very stuffy. They would have 13-course dinners in silence. Can you imagine? 13-course dinners in silence? That's a long-ass meal. So by the time she met my father, he'd be in these cafes, bistros, restaurants, and she had the time of her life, and he treated her like a queen quite often. He wasn't faithful to her is all I can say, but at least he bought her the best. Thank you for sharing. Aham Prema, am divine love mantra, second day, and I feel great. Of course you would. I want all this. You need to make a film. To be honest with you, I'm going to tell you something. That's a trip. My father, one of the things he never wanted to do, I told the story in Andromeda where he went to Hong Kong, and he went into the jungles of the Thailand Golden Triangle to study opium trade, and to study all of this, these lords, these drug lords. And he went into the jungle and met some pretty badass, dangerous men. And then he wrote a book called Opium. And the Hollywood wanted to steal the book and steal the story. And they wanted to make it with not giving him credit. And he was so sick of that because he had done a lot of movie deals and screenplays and shit like that, and never getting his name on the screen. Never. And so he was tired of that. So he basically shelved the story and decided to just he did not want his stories stolen anymore. And there's a lot of moving parts of that story in itself. But suffice it to say, because of him, I was able to live in places that were pretty wild. So my memories of Hong Kong, just to share you that, is Hong Kong in the 1970s was very interesting. It was still owned by the British colonial system. There was a 100-year lease, and people were living on what they call junk boats and different types of boats. Whole generations of people lived right on the bay, Hong Kong Bay. And I lived in a hotel called the Excelsior Hotel. I'll never forget, during the monsoon season, and it's no joke with the monsoons in Asia. And it was a massively intense hotel. It was like a city within a city, all within, and presidential suites and butlers and maids and shit like that. And I remember coming out to take a walk or whatever, and I'd see literally people begging with no legs, no hands. I'd see children living in absolute dirt. And the contrast was so shocking to me as a 14-year-old kid that it marked me in a good way. Because I think that's when I got a real sense of the disparity of the wealthy, the ultra rich, and the ultra poor. And I met some very, very powerful, rich people due to my father and what he was doing. And went to Macau, which is a gambling kind of place originally owned by the Portuguese. Very interesting island off the coast of Hong Kong. And I was lucky enough to be driven to see. I have to share that with you because it was very intense. I remember being driven at 14 with my father. He wanted us to see the border of China. And I believe it was in Macau. I think it was in Macau. I'm trying to remember if it was Hong Kong or Macau. I can't remember. But I remember there was a border that separated. It was like a red line, and there were these cops, Chinese cops. And then my father turned to me and said, "Do you see that ocean right there? Do you see that? That's China right there. Do you see? They want to get here, right? It's miles in the water. It's infested with sharks, and yet they try to get the fuck out of there." I never forgot that. People fighting, swimming, knowing that they were going to step into shark-infested waters and still preferring that over not being free at the time. So when you see things like that as a kid, this is why traveling for children, you guys are, many people I hear, "Oh, well, I don't want to pull my kids out of school." Fucking pull them out of school. Thank God they pulled me out of school again and again because I got to see things like that. Did I go to school in Hong Kong? Yes, I did. And I went to school 1 year, and I was with the schools with army brats and diplomat kids from all over the world. Biracial kids from all over the world. Okay? Biracial, Asian, white, black. It was amazing, right? And that really marked me as well. So traveling is probably the biggest gift you can give your kids. Biggest gift. Because they get to see disparities, injustices, and it marks them for life. You can't ever unsee what you see. And that's the gift of traveling. Body chills here. Oh, cool. Thank you. Sister, we write the new books. Thank you. So those were the stories, you know what I mean? I pray the universe allows us to meet. Oh, you're so sweet. Absolutely. By the way, twin telepathy, I was just thinking if we had bread at home, hubby calls me to tell me to buy bread. You know what? That is very twin flame. I remember, what the hell did he buy? There was something, every time I go to Trader Joe's or whatever, and I would pick up what he wanted. And he said, "Well, I didn't even bother calling you. I just didn't want to bother you." And I was like, "Well, I bought your favorite cake." And he was like, I was just thinking about that cake." And I was like, "Yeah, I know. I know, I felt it. So I bought it." It was like, yeah, so that's very, very twin flames. I hope so too, Natalie. So I'm kind of sharing more and more of myself a little bit because I think it will put, I don't know, I hope it helps you in some way. I mean, again, I hope I don't sound like I'm bragging. I'm certainly not trying to. I'm just trying to let you know that in the 1960s, right? In the 1960s and 70s and probably in the 50s and 40s, I wasn't born then, but I feel as if the world was a lot close shoulder to shoulder. I'll give you an example. In Malibu, when I was a kid, because we would travel to America, here and there, for business deals. And so my dad would take us all for like a 6-month stint. He'd rent a big house and shit like that. And so one of my memories of Malibu that I love that is no longer available, it's no longer possible, is people were riding their horses on the beach. There were no fences from the rich and the quote unquote poor. So you could actually take a walk on the beach and see massive movie stars like Doris Day in the day, or whoever, or Robert Mitchum, or Stuart Whitman, or Steve McQueen, all these guys, you could see them, and women, I can't remember some of their names, but you get, Shirley MacLaine walking on the beach with their dog, and you get, whatever, and you're on your horse, and you're riding on the beach, having a good time. So it's become very elitist, where they're afraid of the people. Are there stalkers? Well, I'm sure there were always stalkers. There will always be people that are kind of cuckoo in the head. It's normal. But they never fenced down Malibu, and now it's fenced in. You can't... First of all, you'll never see horses on the beach anymore, which is sad. And it's become like they've pasteurized everything because I don't know what they're thinking. You think they, I don't know. It's bizarre. It's, to me, it's very elitist. That's why it's elitist now. I drive this fencing all the time. I'm tears right now. Yeah. I'm 30 minutes away from Malibu. So yeah, Malibu was something incredible in the 60s and 70s. It was fucking incredible. I remember my dad rented a house in Malibu Canyon overlooking the ocean. And I'll never forget, he had picked us up. It was like, I think 11 o'clock at night or something like that. The moon was full. And in those days, they would use to build these houses, they would use huge rocks, like some kind of stones like they use in Ireland on the walls. You know, these stone, flat, massive rocks that would be like the sitting room, for example, right? And it would sink down. And I remember he opened the door and it was wall-to-wall windows. And we gasped because here was the full moon, the colors of dark skies, velvet clouds, you know, and those purple tinged dark violet colors. And there was the ocean glowing, the moon back, its reflection. And, you know, you could rent houses like that. And I remember there was an indoor swimming pool. And we used to swim every day, all fucking day long. We'd spend swimming. And then we'd go down, and my dad would come down to some of his friends that were stars, you know, what you would call stars in those days. And to be honest with you, sexuality was really insane. There was a lot of swapping, a lot of weird ass shit was going on, but it was within the context of normality. It wasn't insane. I could tell you really fucking crazy stories, but the kind of deviancy that we're hearing now was not happening. People were having sex with they weren't having sex for the most part with anyone else but adults, you know, consenting adults. There were stars, movie stars, that were actually having sex with underage girls. Yes, this was happening. But the level of debauchery that we're seeing now, that is like, you know, normalized, is off the fucking cuff. And the concept of DEVIL worship and all that shit is a real problem in that part of the world, in that world, if you will. It's also in Paris, but it's off the cuff. It's like, holy fuck, you know? So there's a lot of weird shit that it's almost like a parasitical energy that took hold and got worse and worse. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you know, Judy Garland was being given uppers and downers when she was a kid, well into her adulthood. She was hooked on pills. We all know that, Judy Garland. There are a lot of people that suffered, okay? But there was still a level of normal. There was some normal behaviors going on. The casting couch, we all know, was happening with all of these movie stars, you know, Marilyn Monroe and this and that. But we probably don't know that it was also happening for Charles Heston and Steve McQueen and some other these other guys. It was probably happening for them too. So that's something that we now know is now in the public eye. But it might have been happening even then. I wouldn't doubt it. Charlton Heston, all these old Gregory Peck, right? Cary Grant, who fucking knows, right? Sophia Loren. So, but it's gotten really debauched to a level that I think even we agree is off the cuff, right? Let me see. You should see Paradise Cove now. It's gross, so gross. Paradise Cove. Well, I remember no horses on the beach. Absolutely not. That's sad. You know, the last time I saw, I was in Zuma Beach in Pirates Cove. I think you probably know Zuma Beach. They do a lot of shooting with all kinds of different fashion, you know, little boho fashion houses. They'll go to Zuma Beach for shoots. And Pirates Cove, so we were doing the COVID lockdown. There were signs on the beach saying, big, huge signs saying, you are not allowed on the beach. If you are found on the beach, you will be fined $1,000 and 10 months in jail. Something like that. It was 10 or 6 months. I forgot, but it was definitely $1,000 fine. And I remember going, you know what? Fuck this. I'm leaving Malibu because I was moving to Ojai for a couple months with my twin. And so I went down. I told him, listen, I fuck this. I'm going down to the beach. It'll probably be the last time I ever step my feet on this sand. So I went into Pirates Cove, climbed all the rocks, went into a meditation, of course, and there comes a fucking Coast Guard. Can you imagine? Booming on his bullhorn, telling me to fucking leave, basically threatening me. And there was no one there. Like, I was not going to contaminate anyone with anything or catch anything from anyone. It was a power move. It was just, I can be a bully, so I will be a bully instead of leave me the fuck alone. So rather than wait, I climbed the rocks back out, but it was the last time I ever sat in Pirates Cove. And Pirates Cove was a place that me and my twin would go every day. We'd run a mile on the beach in the morning. At 7:30 in the morning, we were on the beach running. It didn't matter if it was foggy, rainy, misty, this, that. It didn't matter. We'd run a mile chanting, and we'd climb into the rocks to Pirates Cove on the other side where we were usually the only ones, and do our thing and play around and do, just hang, just chill out. So they've just, Gary Newsom. Thank you, Gary Newsom, for being a prick. Anyway, I'm going there. Ho'oponopono. Yeah, go there. It should still be beautiful. I doubt it because they keep it clean. You know what I mean? And then the other thing was called El Capitan Beach, which is an amazing beach. El Capitan, you have to pay for parking. Don't make the mistake. It's not free that I made. But I remember after a very long 24 hours of not sleeping for multiple reasons I'll explain one day in a book, that I'm going to be writing about me and my twin, because he was kind of like on the edges of, whatever. But let's just say that I remember El Capitan Beach, and that was an amazing beach. And we hadn't slept in 24 hours, not him, not me. And so we met, picked him up, and from the airport, picked him up, drove. And I said, let's go here and just take a walk, get some fresh air, stretch our legs. And we fell asleep on our blanket for like 3 or 4 hours, like the sleep of babes. But that beach was extraordinary. So it's called El Capitan, I believe, if I'm correct. Yeah, I have a lot of memories. Hurricane Way, right? I camped at El Capitan. That's really cool. That is very cool. I'm going there in your honor, in the honor of me and my twin, if you don't mind, in both our honors. Oh my God, I can't wait to go back and think about your story. You're so sweet. So we're gonna pull another card, okay? We're gonna pull a couple messages more. I really love this deck. So if you want, let's go and thank you for being so sweet. And then I want to read to you The Loving Eyes of God from The Untethered Soul, The Journey Beyond Yourself, Michael Singer. We're gonna read that afterwards, but let's pull out two more cards. So I'm gonna shuffle. Let me see, where the hell is the book? I'm going to shuffle, and I want you to pick, hang on, not right, left, or middle, top, bottom, or middle, okay? All right, thank you. That's very kind of you. I'd love to send you my number and FaceTime you while I'm there. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, okay, cool. That'd be cool. If you can get cell signal, it's the question. All right, so top, bottom, or middle when you're ready. Top, bottom, and middle. Bottom. Majority wins. Bottom. Middle. Top. Bottom. Okay, I'm going to do bottom, middle. Oh my God. Okay, this is weird. And I shuffled the shit out of these cards. We're getting the same cards. There was one card we got yesterday. So I already chose top and middle. Just so you know. Top and middle. Okay? All right, let's begin. One of them is called 11. And it's called The Council. And you're going to love this. And I had it last night. This is blowing my mind. The second card is 5. Oh my God, that's my twin talking to us. Oh my God, I feel like crying now. 11 is his life path number, and 5 is my life path number. Wow. Okay. All right. All right, and because he's on the other side, when you hear this, it's so apropos you won't believe it. All right, let's listen. The Council, 11, the Essence. The Council are the luminous beings who hold the collective wisdom of humanity. They are the ones before whom you will do your life review when you cross into the world of spirit. A life review is when we place our good and our bad deeds on a divine scale and attempt to explain why we did not love or forgive or dare as greatly as we might have. Know that their wisdom is available to you at all times when you live in a state of yes, in an unconditional relationship with life. They remind you of your place around a sacred fire, which has been reserved for you since the beginning of time. You will claim it when you own your own wisdom. The invitation. The council has a message for you. Listen with your inner sense. The handwriting is already on the wall, so look about you and you will discern its meaning. Do not wait for further signs. Embark on the journey to love deeply, forgive sincerely, and dare greatly. Take the leap without requiring life to assure you of success. The medicine. You are never alone. Turn to the council to find the guidance you seek and listen to the voices that arise spontaneously. Turn a deaf ear to that nagging voice from your ego that tells you that you are not up for the task before you. Create a spiritual feast for the council. Invite them to your altar every time you meditate or pray. Wow. This is beyond apropos. So 11 is his, again, life path number, and 5 is mine. So this is, yeah. So you'll get messages like that. It'll be continuous. So 5 is my life path number. It's the beloved. Let's listen to this message. The essence. The beloved is the recognition of spirit in another and moving towards spirit through the other. It is when the divine appears to us in the form of our child, our partner, our friend, and we experience being in love. As we grow, we start to recognize the beloved in everyone, not confusing their personality with their divine nature. Did you hear that? Hang on, let me read it to you again, and I'll explain why this is so important. As we grow, we start to recognize the beloved in everyone, not confusing their personality with their divine nature. That's why sometimes your twin is toxic and you love them, because you see that their soul is an elegant soul. And the fuckery that they're presenting with you is their false ego. It's the persona they had to build around this fortress to protect themselves from trauma in their childhood. The invitation. Accept the invitation to learn through the path of love. Expand your being through union with another. When you recognize the beloved in another, you call forth their highest and purest nature. Follow the path of love. The medicine. I'm sorry, it's like, wow. Be careful with romantic love, the kind of love you fall in and out of. Own all the projections you have placed upon the person you are dreaming of. Own all the projections you have placed upon the person you are dreaming of. Remember that they are only mirroring back your own deep longing rather than revealing their true selves. If you fail to notice this, be prepared to walk through the fire of strong emotions once again. I blown away. So I'm being told to read to you this letter that he wrote to me. And this would have been in 2014, because he wrote from the book, The Untethered Soul. We were sending it back to each other. And we were writing little underlines, little comments, things of that nature. So one of the things he said is, Tony, after our conversation, I finished the last 7 pages I had left. It has lessons about love that I hope I can live up to. Why did I have only those last 7 pages left? And so I'm going to read you the last 7 pages that he spoke about. Chapter 19. He died on the 19th of July. The loving eyes of God. How can anyone really know anything about God? We have so many teachings, so many concepts, so many views about God. But they've all been touched by people. In the end, it's amazing how much our ideas about God conform to the different cultures from which they come. Fortunately, deep within us, there's a direct connection to the divine. There is a part of our being that is beyond the personal self. You can consciously choose to identify with that part rather than with the psyche of the body. When you do this, a natural transformation begins to take place within you. Over time, as you observe this transformation, you will see that it's like to be coming towards God. You actually begin to know what it feels like to be moving in the direction of spirit. The changes you see within you are reflecting of the force you're approaching. Just as rain makes you wet and fire makes you warm, so you can know the nature of God by looking into the mirror of your transformed self. This is not a philosophy. It's a direct experience. And he checked that off. Spiritual growth can be experienced just like anything. You may have experienced a time in your life when you felt a lot of negativity, anger, and resentment. You know how that feels, and you know how you feel towards others when you're feeling that way. You know how your heart feels, and you know what your thoughts and actions are like. You know that space. It's not philosophy. It's a direct experience. If you grow past that part of you, over time you will actually drift away from the feelings of tension and anxiety. The entire cloud of lower vibration will appear further and further away from where you sit inside. The cloud may still be there, but you don't identify with it or hold on to it. It can no longer hold on to you. As you release the lower vibration, you naturally stop thinking. And there, you or that, there's anything you have to do about them. As you let them go, your spirit drifts upwards. How do you know your spirit drifts upwards? You know the same way you know that you're breathing, the same way you know that your heart beats, and the same way you know that your thoughts, you're in there and you're in there and you directly experience it. What does it mean to drift upward? And it's an experience of being drawn further back inside of yourself. You're no longer held down to your earthly self. So you begin to feel more spontaneous and spacious inside. You feel that there's more of a distance between you and the thoughts and emotions inside of you. And you drift back and then in and up. How does it feel when you drift up? You don't feel as much anger, fear, or self-consciousness. You don't feel resentment towards people. You don't close or get right as often. Things will happen that you don't want to happen, but they don't seem to touch you as much. They can't reach you back to where you are because you've drifted behind the parts of you that reacts to these things. These are actual experiences, not merely something you were told about. It's just what naturally happens when you let go of the lowest vibration of your being. You drift in and up to the deepest vibrations. Where are you going? Even if you have no basic for understanding of what is happening to you, you are still having the undeniable experience of going somewhere. What you begin to feel is that you're going into your spiritual being. As you associate less with the physical and psychological parts of you, you begin to identify more with the flow of pure energy. What does it feel like to identify more with spirit than with form? You used to walk around feeling anxiety and tension. Now you walk around finding love. You just feel love for no reason. Your backdrop is love. Your backdrop is openness, beauty, and appreciation. You don't have to make yourself feel that way. That is how spirit feels. If you were asked how the body normally feels, you might say that it's generally uncomfortable about one thing or another. How about the psyche? If you were being totally honest, you'd probably say that it's generally full of complaints and fears. Well, how does spirit normally feel? The truth is, it always feels good. It always feels high. It always feels open and light. Because of this, you naturally begin to center more and more on the spiritual part of your being. He underlined this final thing, and he put my name on it. You do this not by reaching for spirit, but by letting go of the rest. There is really no other way. The personal self cannot touch spirit. You must release the personal self. And he put Tony. As you release it, you drift back. As you go further back, you get higher. You get higher in vibration and higher in the amount of love and lightness that you feel. You just begin to soar. This happens in an ever-increasing, continuous progression. As you let go and willingly release the physical, emotional, and mental aspect of your being, spirit becomes your state. You don't claim to understand what is happening to you. You just know that as you go further and further back, it gets more and more beautiful. You naturally begin to experience the vibration that were described by the great saints and sages of different traditions. You realize that you, too, can have deep spiritual experiences. Be in the Spirit of the Lord day. Revelation 1:10. Again, he checked it off. But ultimately, how do you really know anything about God? How can you ever know about what is beyond you? You know because those who have gone beyond have come back and said that the spirit you're experiencing is the doorway to God. Again, he checked it off. When they let go of the lower aspects of their being, they experience just what you're experiencing. They felt tremendous love. spirit and light walking up inside of them. They felt that nothing could come in through their senses that was higher than what was absolutely going on inside. They drifted further and further back and got higher and higher. Then one day, all of a sudden, they weren't there. There was no I anymore. There was no I anymore. There was no sense of separateness, experiencing the love and light. There was only the ultimate expansiveness of their sense of self-merging into the love and light, like a single drop of water merging into the ocean. He checked off this part. When the drop of consciousness that knows itself as an individual drifts back far enough, it becomes like the drop that falls into the ocean. The Atman soul falls into the Para Atman, supreme soul. The individual consciousness falls into the universal oneness, and that's it. Double underlined. When that happens, people say interesting things like, I and my Father are one. John 10:30, and the words that I speak unto you, I speak not of myself, but the Father that dwelleth in me, he doth the works. John 14:10. They all spoke like that. They said that they had merged and that there was no differentiation within the universal oneness of God. The drop of consciousness, which is individual spirit, is like a ray of light emanating from the sun. The individual ray is really no different than the sun. When consciousness stops identifying itself as the ray, it comes to know itself as the sun. Beings have merged into that state. In the mystical Gospel of John, Christ said that they all may be one as thou, Father, art in me, and I in thee, that they also may be one in us, I in them, and thou in me, that they may be made perfect in one. John 17:21-23. So it was taught in the Hindu Vedas. So it was taught in the Jewish Kabbalah. So it was written by the great Sufi mystic poets. And so it was taught in all the great religious traditions of all time. Such a state exists. One can merge into the universal absolute. One can merge into God. This is how you know something about God. You become one with him. Ultimately, the only way to know about God is by letting your being merge into the being and then seeing what happens to you. This is universal consciousness, and the qualities of the beings who have attained this deep state are similar in every religion. What happens to one who walks with this path towards God? What transformation do they go through along the way? To understand, imagine what would happen if you started feeling tremendous love for all creatures, for every plant, for every animal, for all beauties of nature. Imagine if every child seemed like your own and every person you saw looked like a beautiful flower with its own color, its own expression, shape, and sounds. As you went deeper and deeper, you would start noticing a phenomenal thing. You are no longer judging. Double underlined. Phenomenal thing. You are no longer judging. The process of judging has simply stopped. There's just appreciation and honoring. When there used to be judging, there's no respecting, loving, and cherishing. To differentiate is to judge. Did you hear that? To differentiate is to judge. That means we can all be racist, and we shouldn't be. We could all be homophobic, and we shouldn't be. We could all say my God instead of God, and say my religion is the one, not yours, is judging. To see, to experience, and to honor is to participate in life instead of standing back and judging it. Let me say it again. To see, to experience, and to honor is to participate in life instead of standing back and judging it. When you walk through a beautiful botanical garden, you feel open and light, you feel love, you see beauty. You don't judge the shape and placement of every leaf. The leaves are all of sizes and shapes, and they face every which way. That's what makes them beautiful. What if you felt that way about people? What if they didn't all have to dress the same way, believe the same, or behave the same? What if they were like the flowers, and however they happen to be, seem beautiful to you? If that happened, you'd get a glimpse of God. That's the best way to know God. Watch what happens to you as you get closer to this entity. It's really the only way you can know about anything about God. If you try to read about God in a book, you'll find 5 other books that say the opposite. Better yet, you'll find 5 interpretations of the same book. Somebody writes something and somebody else gets a PhD proving it wrong. If you move your search for God down to the mental level, somebody will dispute it. It's all a part of the mind game. You can't know God that way. It must come from actual experience. That's what happens to you when you meditate. That's what happens when you let go of your lower self. You drift into spirit. As you drift into spirit, these transformations take place within you. All you have to do is notice them, and you will start to notice the tendency towards the qualities of the divine. The further back you go, the more you will see these natural qualities unfolding inside of you. Each step along the way, you get a clear glimpse of what it must be like to sit in that divine state. He checked that off. There are those who know the existence of the divine force. They've had enough direct inner experiences to know that divine consciousness is a reality. They have seen glimpses of a force that is omnipotent, omnipresent, a force that is aware of all things at all times. Equally, it is universal consciousness. Check off. What does creation look like from the divine state? What have they seen, those who have gone beyond and looked through the eyes of God? They see that there is no judgment. Judging fades away long ago. There's much more beauty to see, such a being feels. Now I can see all the flowers at once. Now I can experience what each of my children and all of my diversity is doing. Now I can feel more love, more compassion, more understanding, and more admiration for all the different expressions and actions of my creations. That is what it looks like to be a saint, and a true saint dwells with God. Underlined. What if it truly, really true that God is not judging? What if God is loving? We all know that true love doesn't judge. Love sees nothing but beauty in its beloved. There's no impurity. There's no possibility of impurity. No matter what it beholds, it's all beautiful. That is how true love sees. That is what it looks like through the eyes of love. So if God is love, what must it look like through the eyes and those eyes? The eyes are filled with infinite love and unconditional, do you hear? Unconditional compassion. If you're ever really loved anybody, then you know what true love means. It means that you love them more than you love yourself. If you truly love someone, your love sees past their humanness. He's checked that off. It embraces their whole being, including past wrongs and current shortcomings. It's like the unconditional love of a mother. A mother devotes every moment of her life to a child who is physically or mentally challenged. She thinks the child is beautiful. She doesn't focus on the shortcomings. In fact, she doesn't even see them as shortcomings. Again, he's underlined this. What if that is how God looks upon his creatures, his creations? Then you've lost out if you've been told the otherwise. Instead of being encouraged to feel completely protected, loved, honored, and respected by the divine force, you've been taught that you're being judged. Should I repeat that? Because that's really a big thing that's happened to us for 2,000 years. What if that is how God looks upon his creations? Then you've lost out if you've been told otherwise. Instead of being encouraged to feel completely protected, loved, honored, and respected by divine force, you've been taught that you're being judged. Isn't that true? Because you've been taught that you feel guilt and fear, but guilt and fear do not open your connection to the divine. They only serve to close your heart. The reality is that God's way is love, and you can see this for yourself. Even if for one moment you can look at someone with the eyes of a true love, you'll know those eyes are not yours. Your eyes could never look with that amount of love. Your eyes could never be that unconditional. Your eyes could never, even in a million years, see only beauty and total perfection in your beloved. Those are the eyes of God looking down through you. When the hand of God reaches out to give through you, there is nothing you wouldn't give. You would give your last breath, never even think about it. It wouldn't even cross your mind to hold back. You would give anything and everything for your beloved. When you feel love this deeply, you feel that it is coming from something greater than you. It is transcendental love. It is divine, unconditional, selfless love. The masters spoke of that love. The ones that went beyond said it's the state you attain when you drift into spirit. That is how spirit looks upon its creation. That is what you should be taught. No matter what you do and no matter what you've done, you will always be loved by spirit. When Christ told the story of the prodigal son to his disciples, he spoke of one son who had gone away and squandered all his wealth. Yet when he came back home for help, his father treated him better than the son who had stayed home and worked. Christ explained that this was because one son had always been home, but the prodigal son had been lost, and the father had missed him. There's no judging, only loving. Luke 15:11-32. Christ also said, "He that is without sin among you, let him first cast the first stone." John 8:7. What did he teach? What did he say? How did he look upon this world? He taught complete, selfless, compassionate love. He hung on the cross next to thieves and robbers, and when a thief asked him to be remembered, Christ said that he would share that day in heaven with him. Luke 23:39-43. What were his first words upon the cross? "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do." Luke 23:34. That is the love of a mother. That's how a mother talks about her child. The level of love and compassion is so deep that the child can do no wrong. If a mother can attain to selfless love, then what about God, the creator of love? Do you want to know about God? Look upon this world. Do you want to know how he feels about different kinds of people? Then look at the sun. Does the sun shine more brightly on a saint than on anyone else? Is the air more available to the saint? Does the rain fall on one neighbor's tree more than another's? You can turn your eyes from the sunlight and live in darkness for 100 years if you want. If you then turn them towards the light is still there. Is there for you just the same as for the person who has enjoyed its brilliance for hundreds of years? All of nature is like this. The fruit on the tree willingly gives itself to everyone. Do any of the forces of nature differentiate? Does anything in God's creation other than the human mind actually pass judgment? Nature just gives and gives to whoever will receive. Should you choose not to receive, it doesn't punish you. You punish yourself because you choose not to receive. If you say to the light, "I will not look at you, I'm going to live in darkness," the light just keeps shining. If you say to God, "I don't believe in you and want nothing to do with you," creation continues to sustain you. Your relationship with God is the same as your relationship with the sun. If you hide from the sun for years, then choose to come out of your darkness, the sun will still be shining as if you had never left. You don't need to apologize. You just pick your head up and look at the sun. It's the same way when you decide to turn toward God. You just do it. If you instead you allow guilt and shame to interfere, that's your ego blocking the divine force. You can't offend the divine one. Its very nature is light, love, compassion, protection, and giving. You can't make it stop loving you. It's just like the sun. You can't make the sun stop shining on you. You can only choose not to look at it. The moment you look, you'll see it's there. He underlined this whole paragraph. As you drift back into spirit, you will see that those are the eyes that look upon this world. That is the heart that shines down upon everything and everyone. Through those eyes, the most wretched of creatures look beautiful. That's the part that no one understands. People say that God cries when he looks at his earth. The saint sees that God gives into ecstasy when he looks upon this earth. Under all conditions and at all times, ecstasy is the only one thing God knows. Double underlined. God's nature is eternal conscious bliss. Double underlined. No matter what you've done, you're not going to be the one thing that ruins it. Double underlined. Checked off the whole paragraph. The beauty is that you can experience this ecstasy, and when you begin to feel this joy, that's when you'll know God's nature. Then nobody will upset or disappoint you. Nothing will create a problem. It will all appear as a part of the beautiful dance of creation unfolding before you. Your natural state will get higher and higher. You'll feel love instead of shame. Instead of being unwilling to lift your eyes to the divine because of what you've said or done, you'll see the divine as a place of unconditional refuge. Contemplate this and let go of the idea of judgment. God, you have a loving God. In truth, you love itself for God. And love cannot do other than love. Your God is in ecstasy, and there's nothing you can do about it. And if God is in ecstasy, I wonder what spirit sees when spirit looks at you. Wow. So, quite often, part of the reason why many people don't rise off their knees and the many incarnations that you've had as a Buddhist, as a Muslim, as a Jew, as a Christian, Catholic, Protestant, Hindu, is because God was created by man, meaning how it was articulated to us through the ego of man in women that was fraught with shame and judgment. We received a distorted idea of God, Spirit, the one of 1,000 names, the one who created us all. And so this is what you need to purge out of yourself. You need to purge this little boy, little girl's idea that you are not deserving. That whatever you did, maybe you threw a rock at a cat and killed it. Maybe you did little things that were fucked up as a child or as a grown man or woman. Maybe you undermined people. You lied. You manipulated. You cheated. You stole. You did some fucked up things. You belittled. You bullied. It's not you today. And today is what matters. Because the irony of this incarnation of having done all these things is in many of your incarnations, in hundreds of thousands of incarnations, you've done really fucked up things. We all have. But today, that's not who you are. Today is what matters. And so today you have to go and excavate and purge and release. Purge and release. And then forgive, 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 forgive. Until the nectar of your self-forgiveness is like a beautiful, fills your mouth with bliss. And this is why meditation is so massively important to you going further and further away from the I, the illusion of your ego. You got to remember that the ego that you are today, Joe, Mary, Steve, whatever, Kelly, it's a script you were given. It's no different than method acting. And you actually believe it. You actually believe that who you are and how you walk and how you look in the mirror is actually the true, all-encompassing you. And with that comes shame. Because having the inhuman experience, we're all going to step in dog shit at some point. We are, all of us. And so that's the conversation we need to have with our inner children, our inner child, our children, our grandchildren, our mothers and fathers. Maybe you had a narcissistic mother or father. Forgive them. Forgive them and help them. Heal them. You are actually their mentor. Believe it or not. If you can return back to a parent that really was fucked up and forgive them and help them cross over so that they can clear a lot of their karmas before they drop their bodies, you actually gain amazing healing in your own lineage that you now embody because of them. And that's going to keep you from sabotaging the gifts that are given to you by the universe, because many of you do sabotage. We did a reading last night, you might want to check it out, where many people were afraid of success. I mean, many of you are afraid of failure, but many of you are afraid of success. And that comes from a lack of self-worth. I mean, both do, but there's something very intense about being unworthy of success. And if we could all stop these habits, we would be in places of magnificence. I mean, we would be healing the planet. In other words, if 100 million of us, that's all we need, 100 million of us, we're really walking in this kind of powerful light of self-love and non-judgment to our brothers and sisters, and love every single creation on this planet, and love Pachamama, Mother Earth, Bhumi, Gaia, and actually loved it. Do you know that it could be an instantaneous shift on the planet? Me too. Absolutely beautiful. Tears rolling uncontrollably. Me too. So I hope this helps. I know I'm bawling too. I mean, I'm trying not to. At 11:11. Wow. Oh my God. In Oregon, 11:11. So I just want you to know that you are going to have to do an exorcism of your ego that says that you are not worthy, and the tapes that you were given, not just by your parents and well-meaning relatives, and even fucked up. There are a lot of fucked up teachers. I'm not going to put teachers on pedestals. A lot of them are fucked up. The good ones usually quit after 5 years. I'm going to be honest. because they get drained. The good cops, even the good cops quit after 5 years. That's a number, and I'm not making it up. Good people, after a certain number of years of seeing fuckery in the system, quit. I was taking classes on speech therapy because I wanted to be a SLIPA, a speech therapist, because of my son at the time. And that's another story. And the fuckery was so egregious, I knew I was going to they were going to arrest me. At some point, I was going to get arrested. There's no way I could sit through that kind of bullshit. So I quit. I couldn't do it. Okay, which was good. Divine guidance. Here I am today speaking to you. So trust in some of the things that you're guided out of into the things you're guided into. Trust. You're not. It was not a failure. And by the way, my mother, I'll never forget, my mother and my husband at the time were putting me down for making that choice. Oh, you never finish anything, you know? And my soul was screaming, I can't do this. I will harm someone for the abuse I saw with children on the autism spectrum. I will hurt someone. It's better if I leave now because this is not going to work. And it was hurtful and harmful, you know? But ultimately, I was able to dispel these tapes that were given to me by what I'm going to call well-meaning. I mean, well-meaning, even if it was fucked up and judgmental, right? Judgmental. And finally, you're going to get to a place where you don't give a fuck how people see you. It won't matter how your twin sees you. It won't matter how your son or daughter see you. It won't matter how your grandparents see you. It won't matter how anyone sees you. Because the relationship you'll have will be with your soul, your light team, and divine spirit, God. Those will be the only sentient energies, Atman energy, right? That you fucking give a shit. The rest of the population, you won't give one fuck. And that will give you the freedom to grow into the power that will help the collective grow as well. Again, the 100 Monkey Theory, which Andromeda did a great job. Watch the P. Diddy, Tupac, Kidnapping of the Root Chakra live that we did on yesterday. It's on my YouTube channel. Watch that. Watch it, because it's really informative, because we're weaving in the fuckery of the moment with how it impacts our chakras and why the 1% is fucking fully aware of what they're doing to us as a collective. It's in other words, they create egregores of oppression and suppression so that God, which should have been the all-encompassing light of self-love, became a judgmental, evil, fucked up, judgmental, angry, jealous, bitter creation, which me and Andromeda Flame were kicking the ball on that, going, that's Enki. That's Enki. It's an Anunnaki. What the fuck? In the Old Testament, for example. And God knows other scriptures, right? So you need to just walk out of the bullshit. Literally, just fucking walk out of the bullshit. Watch Plato's Parable of the Cave. You will be bastardized. You will be spoken to like you're not. You will be a lone wolf. But the beauty of this age, of the 21st century, right now, today, is that there is more of us who can protect you. There are more of us available to you so you can join our tribes. And those tribes are scattered all over the world. There are more of us now than there ever was in the 20th century. In the 20th century, we were kind of fucked. But today, you have protection, you have community, you have love, and we all want what you want. We're walking towards the same path, in terms of what we ultimately want, right? And that is going to help you in your twin flame journey. And when you go to this massive self-awakening, right, this massive self-acceptance and self-love, with no judgment, right? It'll get to the point where you'll do shit. I don't care if you go into plastic surgery. I'm going to throw that out. And you do things just because you want to be more comfortable with this physical body. It's like me repainting my room. Is it wrong for me to repaint my room so that I'm more comfortable in the color frequency? I choose a color frequency that's going to make me sleep better, concentrate, shit like that. No. Self-love is deeper than that. Self-love is not doing anything. I'm not asking you not to change, to put on makeup if you're a woman, to go to your barber if you're a man and have a beautiful carved goatee and smell good. That's not what don't confuse what I'm saying. Because just like you would adorn and clean out the temple to make it look nice so that you can have a good frequency, so it's not, with trash in it, right? Similarly, you will do that for yourself in the physical form, but you're concentrating on the inner landscape of non-judgment. And it's not colliding ideas. You don't give a fuck if people like what you've done. You don't give a fuck if they like your bedroom with a new color. You're not doing it for them. It's your fucking bedroom. You're sleeping in it. They're not, unless they're invited. Right? And it's that kind of I don't give a fuck that my twin had. He really had that. He didn't give a fuck. He didn't give a fuck how people saw him, how people liked him or not. And that kind of irreverence, ferocious irreverence, is why people fucking loved him. Because none of them had the balls he had to be his own man. And I have to say that he lived a very honest life for himself. And there was a lot of fuckery, though, in that way. But there's a freedom to allowing yourself non-judgment and to let these people's judgment on you bounce right off your... Like, I don't give a fuck. And literally just say it. And I've said this before. I don't give one fuck what you think, but I love you, baby. Not reactive, calmly throwing down the gauntlet going, I don't care. I don't care. I know where I'm going. I know who I am. And if you don't agree, if you don't respect, I don't give a fuck. That's going to be the greatest gift you'll ever give yourself. And I doubt you've ever had that ability to transcend that in all your 3D incarnations. So that's part of the ascension. That's going to be part of your journey. Okay? Let me see here. Enlil, Enki, right. I got hang on, let me see. Let me read all your comments because I want them on tape. 111 here. Wow, this is so good. Imposter syndrome is a result of fear of success. Ask yourself, why me? Exactly. I love this. That's why I stepped away from nursing. Where I work, we have speech-language therapists. I got my degree last year in special ed and have never used it because of the system. Exactly. Write books about it then. Write books or do an anonymous blog, my friend. Hang on, let me answer your question. Scorpio Life. Do an anonymous blog. Call it IEP. You know what I mean by that. The underbelly of IEPs. And then blog it. And send it to all kinds of homeschoolers and advocates. See what happens when you start. And write it anonymously. Keep your shit under wraps. Okay? I'm so there and standing alone right now. Welcome to the club. Alone meaning I've risen, moved from family and friends. It's Enlil. Yes, it is. You're absolutely right. Anunnaki God. Okay. This is normal. We spread all over the world alone. Oh, love that idea. Okay. Yes. Do that, Scorpio Life. Do that. And not only will you be writing about your wisdoms and actually start out with a paragraph that says why you left, why you're not even using it because of the fuckery. Every parent with a special needs kid, you might actually go fucking viral because every special parent with special needs is going to eat it like fucking cake because many of them feel bereft because they feel, well, they have PhDs and masters. My son's brilliant. You can ask Andromeda Flame. She's had long conversation with him. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying this for a reason. My son knows Russian, he's teaching him French, and he knows English, okay? But when he was 4, he was nonverbal, very much like Einstein. I gave him a couple Einstein t-shirts when he was a little kid. He still wears them because I got him large, and now they fit him perfectly as a grown man. But at the time, he was nonverbal. And we were going through the system, the machine. And I remember a man coming to me who was going to be an ABA, Applied Behavioral... what is it? I forgot what it's called. ABA, Applied Behavioral. I don't know. I forgot what the hell. Therapist. I'm just going to say that. And so he was showing me his masters, his his resume, and I literally, and so he was handing me all this paperwork for me to look at his credentials, and I literally put it aside and go, I really don't care your education. I need to know, why are you doing this? And he was shocked. And I said, no, see, I want to know, why did you choose to work with kids with special needs? Like, why? Because I really don't care if you have a master's. That's not a selling point to me. I couldn't care less. And he explained to me why he had decided to, work into that, that degree, and why he was interested with children with special needs who were nonverbal, this, that, and the other. And he was so eloquent and so emotional. He actually got emotional. Then I said yes to him. I remember. And I remember when we were still eating meat, taking him, because we were teaching my son certain things, including, going to restaurants. And I remember at the age of 5, my son was 5, and we took this guy to a Chinese restaurant. We had ordered Peking duck, right? Something my son still to this day can't speak. Anyway, Peking duck, which usually it's a 48-hour request. And we treated him like an uncle or a cousin. He was amazing. I was always present in all of his interactions with my son, because I trust no one, even if I like someone. And no, I mean, with my precious son, of course. And it was an amazing 2 years. And we went through a route through the system that was really so fucked up. It's been broken forever. But I can tell you that people like you are needed to talk about, because you're actually inside the machine. In fact, it's why you left the machine, because you were inside, you saw around, you went, no, that's not going to work. I can't do this. I'll fucking, And so write about it. And you may apply behavioral analysis. Thank you. And you may end up going, yeah, my son is brilliant. He's eloquent. He's fucking brilliant. He's 6'4". He's an athlete. If I had listened to the PhDs, and no offense to you guys who have masters and PhDs, okay? I'm not talking about you, clearly, right? I hope you don't get offended. You've worked your asses off to claim it. But my point to you when I say this is, I went against the PhDs and the MAs, because, and I went to holistic healers. I went to Reiki masters. You have no idea the shit I went through, what my husband went through. We got him a dog, a golden doodle, 100-pound golden doodle, shit like that. And at the end of the day, if we hadn't done what we did, my son would have been lost in the system. I used to go to regional centers and hear of stories that fucking broke my heart. Because here were beautiful Botticelli-faced young men, mostly men, young men, because they were growing up, right? Being thrown in hospitals, Botticelli-faced young men, mostly men, young men, because they were growing up, right? Being thrown in hospitals, forgot, broke my heart. I could not see that. And so when somebody like you, Scorpio Life, comes up and says that, I highly recommend you consider doing a blog, videos with just voice. Don't use your real name, and just talk about the system. And you may end up, believe it or not, doing a blog, videos with just voice. Don't use your real name, and just talk about the system. And you may end up, believe it or not, becoming an advocate. You know what I mean? An advocate where you're actually helping people. Does that make sense? Okay. Any questions or comments? So I'd like to do one more. Would you like one more? Yeah, because I talked about crystals, right? So one of the speech therapists that my son had used to be a crystal. She was like into angels and fairies. She was the coolest fucking chick I ever met. And she always had tumbled crystals. And she understood those kids were my passion. Of course they were. But you couldn't watch the abuse. Of course they were. I'm not surprised. So anyway, she was a speech therapist. When my son was, in 2008, when me and my twin were talking, my marriage had collapsed. It was over. But in 2008, I was dealing with this amazing woman. She had blue eyes, blonde hair. She looked like a fucking angel. She really did. Like you would see a classic angel, And she loved crystals. And so she would give crystals after every session to a child. It was amazing to me that here she was in a public school system doing that out of her own pocket. She certainly wasn't getting money for it, And she understood why kids on the spectrum were being born. Abraham Hicks, if you want to look at that Scorpio Life on YouTube, look up Abraham Hicks and autism. Look it up. And the way Abraham Hicks, aka Esther Hicks and Abraham, the collective, talk about why autistic kids are being born is revolutionary. On a spiritual level, it's revolutionary. And I urge you to watch that video. It's amazing. Again, Abraham Hicks, autism, and why are they being born, right? Why are they coming in? It's pretty amazing. Getting him a cat was healing for him, so healing. Yes. Well, because also the frequency of the purr. I did holistic healing for my son as well. I would love that. Those kids were, okay, sorry, I'm repeating myself. She is so good. Yeah, Esther Hicks, Abraham Hicks, when in 2014, I was listening to Abraham Hicks like constantly. I call it brainwashing yourself. So when I listen to, I'm going to give you tips that I think worked for me and still works. When I'm looking to heal or understand esoteric new information or whatever, I brainwash myself by listening to it again and again and again. And I mean, I'm not joking. You'll hear me often in these lives saying, yeah, I've read that book 5 times. And it will be a book I've read like 30 years ago, but because I read it 5, 6 times, I remember it. For me, that's how it works for me. And so what I'm going to say to you is that when children are born with, in the moment, special needs, and a lot of it has to do with, I think some of us know, some of you may disagree, and that's fine, that's your experience, but I did a lot of researching on VAX, and one of the books that is out of print, wink, wink, is called A Shot in the Dark. And I mentioned that many times, A Shot in the Dark. And it's a book that changed my fucking life. But unfortunately, the medical system is so whacked that I'll tell you what we think caused the delay. When my son was born, he was powerful. But for whatever reason, he got a very bad flu. And so we had taken him to ER. He was projectile vomiting, which is not a joke. And we took him in. They took blood tests. Now, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, they were trying to take blood from his arm. Now, I didn't know this because I was still a new mother, that actually for babies, you take it from the heel of their foot, not the fucking arm. So anyway, they took the blood, and then we were told he had meningitis. And we were called back into ER, and they wanted to give him a vaccine, meningitis. And the doctor begged us in ER. He said the test to prove whether or not it's a contaminated sample or if it's really meningitis, it could be too late. And he literally put his hands in prayer. Please, please let me administer it. And so I remember my husband saying, there's nothing wrong with him. I know there's nothing wrong with him. And I looked at my husband and said, yeah, but the thing is, you realize, right, that if we don't do it, Child Protective Services will be called here. You know that, right? And he looked at me and went, fuck. And I went, yep, fuck. And so we did it. And that's when we saw the light of his eyes go out. And from then, it was a journey of detoxing, feeding his brain with oils and detoxing him. And we made it. We fucking made it. But we're one of very few families who have made it. Because we didn't go through the okie doke of pharma. So we're lucky. At 16, 17, he started teaching himself Russian. And he has spoken to Russian people. He speaks fluent Russian. Why, you ask? Because his soul told him that he would need to know how to speak Russian. And guess what's happening on the world right now? Anyway, just saying. So that's why, okay, the hypersensory perception is not accidental. Oh, that book was hard to read. Yes, it is. They are spiritually advanced. Yes, Angie. My husband and I talk about how autism is a form of human evolution. It is. I watched that video. So good. I used to diffuse essential oils in my office for specific kids. It got results, but it was not okay. Huh. That's why we don't have children in the hospital. Right on. Well, no, I mean, that's the thing. It wasn't about having children in the hospital. Okay? Because one of the vacs that is what is the vac? I forgot what it is. It's a vac against gonorrhea, I believe. Am I correct? It's been a while. Okay, good for you. Oh my bravo. I've done the same with my son, but with chronic health problems. MMR. Oh yeah, well that's Andrew Wakefield did a in the Lancet Journal wrote an article about the MMR. It was called The Jab. And they asked Tony Blair, have you given your son the jab? He never once answered the fucking question. Meanwhile, families in the UK that had done that particular one were having massive results that were absolutely devastating. I remember my attorney who took my case pro bono a while back in 2004. And he took it pro bono because what they were doing was so egregious. He was like, yeah, it's a fucking slam dunk. But his son, being a rich attorney, a litigator, he had cameras. This was in 2004. Don't forget, phones were flip phones, okay? So anyway, so he had cameras and videos of his kid who was doing like 6-7 word sentences, precocious as fuck. At 18 months, they did the, you know what? Boom, he never spoke again. Never again. To this day, never again. Okay? So people had videos, and it happened within like literally 12 hours. Gone. Boom. Gone forever. So it is what it is. Okay? It is what it is. Anyway, so I wanted to do one more. Any other questions or comments that I can read? I'm careful about all of this that we talk about because of the fact that, you know, some of these social media companies tend to pull the plug on everything. Now they're apologizing about the COVID, right? To all of us. Many of us were forced to take it. Many of us were not. Those of us who did not take it are purebloods. You fucking believe that shit? And the way we were bullied, shamed not to wear masks, things like that. Shamed. It's one of the reasons why I moved from Ojai, California, to Nevada City, because at the time, the mayor of Nevada City was called Renee Senum. And she had the only town in all, I think damn near all of America, except for Texas and some other states that were against this. Florida was the other state, if I remember. But she was the only city in California that did not have a mandatory, MASK thing. That's one of the reasons why I chose to go there. And for like almost 2.5 years, that's where we lived until all that debacle ended, you know? And now they're apologizing. Isn't that the bitch? So anyway, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but my experiences have not been too good on that end at all. So are you ready? Any other questions or comments? And I'm going to go right into another oracle reading, if you don't mind. I'd like to. I will also resume tonight Mind Power to the 21st Century. If you have not been listening to my lives on Mind Power into the 21st Century, Techniques to Harness the Outstanding Powers of Thought by John Kehoe, I read it. I read about 3 to 5 chapters per night, and it's amazing. And it should help you a lot in you manifesting your own healing, your own thing. I haven't read this book since my son was 2. I bought 2 copies. I underlined the shit out of this book. I referred this book to like 40 people in my life, and all of them have come back going, holy fuck. And it's a mind-altering book. It's really amazing. It's really, really amazing. So for us to grow new synapses, new ideas of consciousness, these books are going to be, I know many of you, your attention span is just whacked, right? And you think, well, I need to sit and listen, or I need to sit and read. I invite you to just simply put your iPods on and listen to the damn book, whether you listen or not. Because what we're trying to do is seed the subconscious. I'm not concerned with the fact that you're driving, going to the supermarket, doing your laundry. I want you to just seed your subconscious. Does that make sense? I'm not concerned with you not hearing every sentence, every chapter, because I know your subconscious mind is. Does that make sense? And sometimes it starts there. Better there than nothing. Because right now, if you're doing nothing, which is fucked. Okay? Let me read your comment. I'm doing Untethered Soul on audio now, reprogramming your subconscious mind. Exactly. And your subconscious mind can be reprogrammed. And so my fear in some of these reprogramming videos that are on YouTube, I'm going to tell you my fear. And when I say fear, I use the word so we understand what I'm talking about. I'm not in fear of any of this shit. But let me explain. There are videos on YouTube, you know who they are, you know what they are, that are going to program you to lose weight, heal your body, or give you abundance, right? Now, in 2016, when there was a beginnings of these ideas that were going on YouTube and so forth, I wasn't worried. I knew that whatever was put out for the good of all. But when I started seeing 440 guided meditation hurts, 440, which we all know is fucked up, it will fuck you up. It's not good for you. The vibration of 440 is a no bueno. That's when I got concerned. When I no longer saw explanation of the power of 9 and it was suddenly removed out of fucking YouTube, I couldn't find it to save my life. I'm going to look again. But I know that on TikTok, there's a couple new people coming up with a breakdown of what 9 means and why it's powerful. But anyway, the point I'm making is that some of these subliminal things may not be good for you because we don't know what subliminally they're saying to you. So if you're looking at a tape that says guided meditation for abundance, you don't know what it's saying. You don't know unless you know about the artist who's putting it out. You know who they are. In other words, you follow them for years. You know who they are. I wouldn't fucking do any of them. I'd rather you do tapes of this because it's just a clear reading. It's all it is. They're just reading to you. It's no bullshit. They're reading. Okay? Sounds true, audible. I don't care who you go with. The book is being read and that's the end of it. And there's no subliminal shit. I would be careful with subliminal shit. You might say, well, Tony, you sound paranoid. I would say to you, better paranoid than fucking sorry. Because if after 6 months you're still no closer to your abundance or your shift or transformation than you were when you started, you should question that shit. Because when I was listening to The Secret by Rhonda Burns while I slept, I saw shifts and changes in me and my behaviors and my body. I'll give you an example. I had to lose like 30 pounds. And I started power walking 2.5 miles, going on the Stairmaster for 1 hour and weightlifting for 1 hour. 6 to 7 days a week. And I was doing Pilates no matter what. Okay? So there was a shift going on from the programming of just listening to I was vacuuming, I was cooking, I was peeling potatoes. That shit was on my TV screen or on because in those days I had no Audible, it was CD players, right? And I was listening to that. And I had the book. And I was reading this book here, Mind Power. Yeah, I was hell-bent on shifting. And as I said yesterday, you will have many crossroads of shifts. Many, many. I went to another crossroad in 2018 where I was still suffering, because why was I suffering? Because I was working, I was reading for people on the side, but it was a side thing that I've been doing since I was 18 for friends. And I was still working a gig, what I call a straight gig. And that was just, I felt like a Mustang that had been fucking roped and, my legs, my muzzle, everything was roped. And so the last vestiges of self-annihilation and self-limiting thoughts needed to be, for me personally, that doesn't mean that's your story, by the way, at all. My last final purge was when I met my 2 shamans, 2 women, who I'd been waiting for since I was 17. I knew it. And when I knew that I would eventually meet a shaman is after I read the book, The Doors of Perception. I read that book like 10 times. I kid you not. The Doors of Perception by Aldous Huxley on mescaline and LSD. And I'm not a drug. I've never, I think the worst I've done is lines. A couple lines of you know what. And mostly pot and then nothing at all. And some wine throughout this incarnation. So when I started doing this kind of plant medicine, I was a virgin mind. I'd never done DMT. I'd never done any of that shit. But I knew that for me to unlock myself from my monkey mind, I had to do something very intense. It had to be a massive, almost damn near immediate shift in consciousness. I had to be pushed off the cliff and realize that I could fly. No pun intended. And in that journey, when I came back to feet on the ground, I realized what I had potentially lost and what I had potentially, what I could potentially become, right? And that was a very important time that me and my twin had to separate for like only 2 months. It was only 2 months. And it was under a very crazy circumstances. That's why I'm telling you, the universe is magical. It knows when you need some time from your twin. It knows. It fucking knows. So you don't fucking start crying and screaming. And I remember there was a book he had told me to read. One of Carlos Castaneda's ingenue, one of his women. And he said, Tony, he didn't call me that. He had a nickname for me. But he said, I need you to understand that at some point we need to separate because you need to go into a place you've never been to. You need to like find a town, a village, whatever. And for 6 months, you need to just do your thing. And you need to figure it, and you need to not know these people from Adam. And that's going to give you incredible growth. And he couldn't believe it when that's exactly what happened. Meaning for 3 months, not 6, 2.5, 3 months, that's exactly what happened. And that's when I began to grow my understanding of what I could be and how I could help others become that as well. You know, their best version of themselves in this incarnation, and to excavate all of the forgotten powers that we all have. Many of us are starseeds. As I do hypnotherapies, I do a lot of hypnotherapies. I'm blown away by how many of my clients start past lives in the mundane of a human experience, and suddenly the next past life is on a fucking other planet. It blows me away. It's amazing. And it's probably because a lot of my clients that come to me are very, very much open to anything at this point. Because all the things we were taught was real, we are realizing was all fake. Yeah, the Wizard of Oz curtains have been torn down. And we're like, okay, so what is reality then? If this is not real, then what is reality? It's pretty interesting. Let me read your comments. Hang on. It's the subliminal ones that are dangerous. I love hallucinogens. They really do open your mind. Hallucinogens open your mind, but open your mind. What I find with people who take too much, like I had a friend who was doing it every week. Like, that's stupid, in my opinion. No offense. There's a point where you need to let the medicine work through you. You may say to me, well, but that you're just being very frigid. You're being very frigid on plant medicine. I would say to you, you're not letting the plant medicine speak its truth in that particular session, in its entirety. You're deciding that every week you're going to take it when you should actually wait 3 to 4 to 5, 6 months before you take it again, so you could get the full immersion. I'll give you an example. When I did ayahuasca the first time, I made connections with certain people, and we kept in touch. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, it never failed, 3 to 3:32 in the morning, I would wake up with sacred geometry coming out of my third eye. And I knew that my guides were upgrading me. And I would say, thank you for upgrading me, with my eyes closed. And I'd go to the bathroom, right? And with my eyes closed, and then go back to bed. And the sacred geometry were still fucking erupting out of my third eye. It was fucking in crown chakra. And so the medicine, if I'd been taking shit again and again and again and again, I wouldn't have been allowed for the medicine to work its magic through me for months afterwards. And it did some incredible things. I had massive lucid dreams. I had visitations from other sentient beings. It was amazing. And it was definitely that. Ever since my twin has passed, I sometimes get third eye activations. And I know it's him. I know he's witnessing it. He's there. Because I feel his presence as I'm being activated. In other words, these downloads, these light codes of upgrades are coming in. Like, for example, one of the times I woke up and I kept my eyes closed because the third eye was emanating and pulsing the flower, the flower of life. I didn't ask for it. I didn't go to bed going, I want to see the flower of life. I didn't ask for any of this. I just went to bed. Smoked a couple, took a couple puffs of pot. That was it. And believe me, I've smoked pot for years, but and I do it here and there. But that never made me have. In fact, sometimes pot can actually stop you from having dreams and visions and downloads, right? And there it was. So what I'm going to say to you is that when you work with plant medicine, respect it. And I'm not saying you don't respect it, but I'm saying respect the timing of its unfolding. Allow it to unfold. Because that day, the planets were in alignment on a different level. The planets, constellations, all of that was happening. And you took the medicine. So in itself, it had a different frequency vibrational pull for you at that moment. And it's going to keep working through you for months afterwards. And when you're directed by divine sources, take it again, it's time. The planets are in different alignments. There's something else keep working through you for months afterwards. And when you're directed by divine sources, take it again, it's time. The planets are in different alignments. There's something else going on. And now it's time to take it again. Does that make sense? That's my feeling on that. Let me see here. I want to hear your member. Oh, please do the oracle. Okay. That is exactly how I feel at this point in my life. Plant medicine are teachers. Exactly. Immersion is understanding that we are the ayahuasca. Then we should try to reach that frequency within our own mind before using the medicine again. You don't have to try. That's what I'm just saying. Do you understand what I'm saying? You don't have to try shit. Stop trying shit. Stop trying. Stop trying to make shit happen. Let it happen. That's what I'm saying. Let the medicine do its work. Let it talk to you when it wants to talk to you. You enforce a 5-year-old to tell you anything. You enforce anyone to tell you anything. Don't force the medicine to talk to you. You know what I mean? Yeah, they've just restricted my life. Fuck. Yes, you're not supposed to do that every week, every few months. Like 4 or 5. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Let me read it correctly. You are not supposed to do that every week, every few months, like 4 to 6 months, depending on person. Exactly. Oh, I've been needing to study the Anima, Animus. Oh, good. It should always be very intentional. Exactly. Totally resonates. Yes, 23. You got to be fucking kidding. Okay, so let me go ahead and do the crystal cards because Jennifer's battery is going out. And top, bottom, or middle. And then I'll upload this live so you guys can listen to the beginning of Recall and see, what it's about. Hopefully some of you will buy a copy. That would be great if you buy. And it's in my Linktree profile. Okay, top. Okay, top, bottom, and middle. Okay, so I've got middle. I'm going with middle. Okay, so 43, Goddess, Montanji, and Heliotrope. So the crystal for today is Heliotrope. And guess what? It has the Yantri symbol with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6-pointed star. And again, it's 43, which is 7, the journey. Okay, sorry, I'm multitasking, but blue lotus flower tea before bed, amazing for dreaming. Yes, right on, Andromeda Flame. So it's 43, 7 is the journey. Goddess Montanji. Heliotrope is the crystal. Again, it's heliotrope. Thank you. Yes, heliotrope. Correct. Already there is value. Crystal goddess number 888. 888. Okay, let's read what it says. 43. And then we'll call it a day and I'll be back tonight with the mind power into the 21st century. But let's read this. 43. Bear with me. Okay. Already there is value. We bring you the empowerment to see that already there's value. It is natural for creative energy to become excited by new possibilities, new ideas, and new forms. It is also possible, however, for creative energies to become engaged in liberating the undiscovered value within that which already exists, polishing it until it shines with divine light. Sometimes there's a need to shed the past and all associated with it, completely starting afresh. However, at other times, there is something of value from the past that can, if allowed to bask in the light of your creativity, become very valuable for your future. In your enthusiasm to move forward in life, don't forget to take the value that already exists in your world along with you. The innovative creative mind tends to be future-oriented. It can see how things could be. There is excitement for what is yet to be and a desire to embrace the new and perhaps a feeling of excitement for what is unusual and stands apart from what has been. This can be healthy and helpful. Newness can bring energy and uplifting change. It is wise, however, to not, okay, hang on. However, to not rapidly cast away all that has been to make space for the new. It is a question of discernment and degree. Sometimes it will be appropriate to take extreme measures to purge the past. At other times, it is simply not necessary. And if you do not pause to consider the value of what you are releasing, you may lose valuable resources that will support your future. Perhaps it is an idea that will need to be further worked upon for the full divine brilliance to be revealed. Or a connection that already exists and is going unexpectedly rise up and support you and your divine work in some way. Whether there is an old idea half completed, an opportunity not yet acted on, or information you yet not taken in and digested, the oracle says that something valuable is right under your nose. It may be, well, the very thing that helps you bridge the past and the future. You are guided to sit with your creative efforts and what already exists in your life with your relationships, your possessions, the information you have at your disposal. Is there information, a project, situation, or inner guidance you have already received that you are yet to fully integrate and apply in your life? Is there something within that could be beneficial to you? Use your intuition. Allow yourself to feel for your inner guidance. Is there something you have too quickly dismissed as trash that could actually be transformed into treasure? If you are inspired to reinvigorate a past practice, to revive or reinvent yourself, a brand or a project, then the oracle brings encouragement for this process. If you are going through a creative process of growth, perhaps having completed a body of work with certain philosophy or approach and now feeling to head in a different direction, or perhaps as a parent now stepping into a professional arena, for example, this oracle brings your guidance. Do not dismiss the value of what you have done up until this point. It is in no way diminished because you are growing. You are growing because you have done all you have done. Your past efforts can continue to have a positive impact in the life of others, even whilst you move on with your life into the new phase of your journey. Yeah, I'll give you an example. People that are criminals, people that have had massive traumas, people that have gone in and out of jail, people who have gone through things that were so fucked up, drug abuse, whatever, right? And they think, well, I'm going to throw that away. That's not me anymore. But yet they don't understand. They fail to understand that this is the very nucleus of new projects and new ways of speaking to people and new ways of healing others, saying, I've been there. I've done that. I survived it. So to hide what made you who you are today is counterintuitive, isn't it? You didn't go through it just for the fuck of it. You went through it to experience it, all of it, so that you could actually retool it and reinvent yourself through those experiences to share with as many people as you can. So that a 17-year-old watching or listening to you or reading a blog of yours or a video, whatever the fuck you're doing it, is going, my God, I'm not crazy. My God, this person went through that and here I am. Here they are, thriving. That could be me too. In other words, what you went through could give people hope to continue, not to give up. Healing process. To integrate this guidance, you may like to say this invocation. I call upon the crystal angel of Heliotrope and goddess Mantaji, who love me unconditionally. Thank you for the divine healing empowerment to see that already there is value. May I be guided by divine grace and intuition to recognize that which can be developed in value, that which is been best discarded. May divine wisdom and transformational creativity be awakened within the human collective, encouraging intelligence, use, reuse, reinvention, and transformation of resources from the betterment of all life on earth. Through divine compassion, my own free will, so be it. So this is interesting because, I never knew, for example, one of the things I never knew was that Steve McQueen, I don't know if you guys know the actor Steve McQueen, but Steve McQueen went in and out of juvie. He was at juvenile hall, foster care, juvenile hall, foster care, juvenile hall, foster care. He went through that whole thing and somehow became the baddest, one of the most incredible, evocative actors of our time, Steve McQueen. Something about him. And it's not like he was playing different roles like, say, Marlon Brando. He was playing himself pretty much. But he was amazing. Oh my God, yes. Andromeda flame. So, let me see here. I needed this. You know the crazy that's going on here. Thank you. Yes. So all of these things that you think aren't valid, you're so hell bent on running from these really negative experiences, are actually there for you. Like I have a couple books, short stories that I wrote about my son when he was a baby. He was like, that I'm finally in a place where I can pull them out. I wrote them like literally 23 and a half years ago. And it's time to see if now is the time. Does that make sense? I'm saying timing is timing, my friends. So you might have things that you feel are, well, you know, no, sometimes the world isn't ready for what you came up with, and now it is. Now it's ready. Now it's hungry. Does that make sense? So I hope it makes sense. When this book came out in 2012, right, the world wasn't ready. That's why I released it as a fiction. And but now the world is ready to hear that, you know, that these experiences are real. They happen. They're common, you know. So anyway, any questions or comments? 100%. Yeah, 100%. So Jennifer, I know your phone is going out. I do want to do one more. I'm really, I don't know. There's something in me that really wants to do another card. And here's why. Because I feel like we're talking about massive individual healing, a connection with divine source, and so on. And so I want to pull, I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to pull from Kali. Kali, the supreme ferocious grace and protection of the wild divine mother. Okay? All right, so I'm going to do that now. And I really want to do this. I recently lost my father and writing a book in hopes to help children on the spectrum understand. Beautiful. That's beautiful. Beautiful, Nicole. So appreciate. Thank you. I appreciate you too. All right. Explaining to my son inspired me to write it. Exactly. There you go. There you go. Okay. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. All right. So I want you to, again, this is from the Kali Oracle deck. I want you to go ahead and pick bottom, top, or middle, and let's see what the message is. And we'll call it a day. Okay. After this, we'll call it a day. And I'll upload this live so you guys can listen to it. Or if you could share it, that'd be awesome. Like if you could start sharing some of the YouTube videos, especially the one that me and Andromeda Flame did yesterday. You'll see P. Diddy. And we're talking about Tupac. We're talking about the root chakra. We're talking about kidnapping and the sacred masculine root chakra. We're talking about all kinds of shit that are interweaved. And if you could actually, of all the videos I would love it if you actually shared massively the YouTube one with me and Andromeda Flame. Okay? All right, cool. So when you're ready, top, bottom. Okay, top. I'm going to stop. Top. We need majority. Top, bottom, or middle. Yeah, wasn't it? It was. Yesterday's live was fire. Thank you. Was on fire. Absolutely. Andromeda was like, really? And I'm like, yes. It was fucking amazing. Between her and her elegance and her ability to describe chakras and the concepts and, you know, and me being the brutal me that I am, you know, kind of like, it was incredible. I felt the energy. So top, bottom, and middle. Okay, so I'm going to go with top because that's the majority. Oh my God, you guys are going to love this. And here comes my twin. And by the way, my love, this is for you as well. Wait, you'll know who you are. 29. Did you hear that? So that's my twin's number. Here he is again. 29. Devi Makali. So here is a crescent moon with a mala streaming out of the hands of Kali. And she's holding a baby up to the moon. Such a beautiful card. Oh my God. Right now, power is with you guys. Let me just say, so 29, Deva Makali. Let's read this. It's so fucking up. Wait till you read this. You're going to it's going to blow your mind. Okay, 29. Devi Makali, endlessly loving, infinitely forgiving. She will never turn away from you no matter what you have done, no matter how many mistakes you have made. She is here for you always. Feel the safety and sanctuary of her divine hugs. She is your soft place to fall and your kindest and most enthusiastic advocate. Let her shift your experience away from endless task and ever greater expectation into sweet, relief, and comforting connection. There are times when we just need our mother. This is natural and necessary. However, for whatever reason, we may not be able to turn to the mother figure in our lives in our time of need. There's no need to feel deprived during each moment. We have a divine mother who wants to help and has the endless resourcefulness to do it. The problem of receiving grace is never with the source of it. By its nature, grace flows with generosity, so needing to earn or deserve it goes against the very nature of grace itself. However, we can struggle to be open to it and have a subconscious resistance to receiving. Intellectually, we may know that we are worthy of being helped and even that others will have also benefit when we are flourishing, so that grace brings multiple benefits to all. Yet, we can still be more attached to the difficulty than the resolution. Why is that? We cannot underestimate the influence of belief systems created in response to childhood trauma and the impact these unchecked beliefs can have in our adult lives. The beauty is that Kali will not only help us identify where we have our blocks, she will also help liberate the soul by providing us with a choice. We can allow her to consume those past traumas, relieving the soul of karmic burden. Deva Ma Kali's grace is not about encouraging psychological regressions or giving up the necessary learning and responsibility to grow. It is a recognition that there are times when even a mature adult just needs to feel loved, held and appreciated, cherished and adored. Not for the sake of boosting ego, but for replenishing the heart that wants to give and give and give. It is about withdrawing from the distractions and the battles for a time, not to escape from what you need to do, but to have the energy and clarity of mind to approach your life journey effectively. Regression is avoidance, whereas reconnecting with the childlike relationship to the divine replenishes the inner reserves so one can continue, change, approach, and gain supportive allies so that success can unfold more graciously and swiftly. The devotee of Kali and Hindu saints Sri Ramakrishna taught that when a tree is young, it should be fenced all around lest it be destroyed by cattle. What does that mean for us? Positive qualities such as a healthy self-esteem can be burgeoning within us even when we are not fully aware of the extent of positive change that comes from the subtle inner shifts of mind, heart, and soul. Significant healing shifts often take place beneath conscious awareness. This is good. It prevents the sabotaging aspect of the mind from killing off that fledgling quality before it is strong enough to stand up to the patterns of the past and assert itself, rather than, for example, being trampled by overly critical and shaming voices. The protection of the young tree is a symbol for taking care of that which is vulnerable until it becomes strong enough to stand on its own and fulfill its destiny. This is what a mother is meant to do for a child, what Kali Ma Devi does for all children, if they will come to her. There is something good growing within you. Don't let clumsy or ill-wishing energies around or within you get anywhere near it. Let Kali Ma protect you from within and without. This particular form of Kali is without the association of battles and war, which she is more commonly connected. Instead, she is the divine mother holding you, your being, in her arms in a quiet and peaceful nursery of the soul, rocking you back and forth with a gentle, sweet lullaby upon her lips. The Hindu scriptures teach that when Shiva drank the poison that threatened to consume and destroy the world, he became sick with the pain of it, and so transformed himself into a baby feeding at Kali Ma's breast. Her milk soothed the poison, taking away the pain. If you have been taking on energies from others, perhaps unintentionally or even intentionally, in an attempt to alleviate their suffering, then the message is this: Kali is providing you with relief and healing now. When you have so much going on that it all feels too much, permit yourself to seek her out and be comforted, held, and reassured. It is natural for a child to need and reach for its mother. You are deserving of comfort. Allow yourself to experience it without reservation. My hit on this as I was reading it is that many of you, the weather is good. Many of you, take a blanket, go and lay your body on Pachamama, Mother Earth. Just lay down on her and say, please, great mother, great auntie, great beloved, great grandmother, please just Please heal me. Put your belly on her. Put your back on her. Lay yourself in a fetal position against her body. Make sure the blanket is cotton or wool, nothing synthetic, so that the vibrational frequency of her, of earth, can heal you. You may fall asleep. You may start shaking in uncontrollable sobs, wondering why you're crying, while your body is releasing. It's purging. It's healing. Okay? So today, right, I want you to go out and lay down on her body. Okay? If you can't do that for whatever crazy reason, I need you to find a tree, barefoot, take off your shoes and socks, and put your spine against her. Lean against one of her children, a tree, and ask for their guidance and healing. This silent friend, the tree, or her body, will do such miracles that it will shock you. And I would suggest that you look at my altar, my altar instructions on how to build an altar. Because many of you have altars, but I've noticed that you don't have flowers, you don't have fruit, you don't have, your altars, no offense, I'm just going to say, are kind of generic. Altars need to feel like it's a living, breathing energy of the divine. Altars are to be ignited. And they are ignited with candles and incense and feathers and flowers that you've picked yourself. And they with water, with a bell. Just look at the video, okay? Look for it. And go ahead and create an altar that feels alive to you. Alive. Okay? Because if it's not feeling alive, then it's not really an altar, is it? It's more of a little decoration. It's kind of like you decorating your fridge. Does that make sense? All right. Any questions or comments? Let me see here. Oh my God. Oh wow. I wish you could show us an altar. Spoke through you this whole time. Confirming it again. Good. Sorry, when I read, I don't look down. Totally sharing. Yeah, please share. Yeah, please share. Because that P. Diddy, Tupac / kidnapping of the root chakra, you'll see it. It looks like P. Diddy. My son did the art for that. And we're not attacking him. Just so you know. We're attacking the 1% and the system that has corrupted the root chakra of the sacred masculine. And not just the sacred masculine, the divine feminine. It's a very, very important live. It's probably one of the most important lives that we've ever done, in my humble opinion. And I'm not humble. Why? Because I don't have time for that shit. I'm here to fucking kick down doors and open doors. So one of us has to be, irreverent, and the other one has to be humble, apparently. It balances. Me and Andromeda really balance each other out in a beautiful way. If you ever listen to our lives, you see how we balance each other out. It's a complete yin and yang. It's a Kali energy and a Kuan Yin energy. And it goes back and forth. And both feminine energies are very, very important to this conversation, to the conversations of our ascensions. Yeah, I agree. We really do. I know. I feel very, and I'm not going to be fucking humble about it, because I've been humble my whole life. And by the way, false humility. I mean, Andromeda is really purely humble. Don't get me wrong, in a beautiful way. But false humility will keep you in the closet, right? I'm humble about a lot of other things. But when it comes to me asking you to share that live on Facebook, on TikTok, wherever the fuck, just share. I'm not kidding. On X. The reason I'm asking is because that needs to be shared. I have over 300 lives that I've posted on my YouTube. I have never asked you publicly. Have I ever asked you to share this in a public forum? Have I ever asked you before? But today I ask you, because that one was fucking important. Because that one had all the components of the 1%, the root chakra, deviancy, debauchery, Baphomet, everything you can think of was there, which is part and parcel of why for almost 3,000 years we've been kept in spiritual chains. And we've been told that the kind of the slavery we talk about, there are different forms of slavery, my friends. And the one where we're worried about our taxes, and we're worried about this, and we're worried about that, and we're constantly fucking trying to make shit work. And we're so put to the sword. Constantly there's a sword over our head over all of these infrastructural issues that entrap us on a hamster wheel that makes it sometimes near damn impossible to take breaths, to read books, to be in a hammock, to meditate, to realign yourself, to reground yourself. And like Andromeda said, there are many planets, off planets. As a matter of fact, fuck all planets. This planet, 20,000 years ago, was not like this at all. And there are parts of you that know it, because you've been on other planets and you've been on this planet when this kind of fuckery was not happening. We were allowed to be, to thrive, to have communities, to tell stories. I think the last bastions of that freedom were Native Americans and Druids, in my humble opinion. If you come up with any, I'll share it. But does that make sense? Anyway, I want to send you so much love, and I want to thank you so much for your patience and for your ability to give me so much love and for your support. If you want to buy Recall, it's on my Linktree on my profile. It'll take you directly to Amazon. You can buy it on a Kindle, or I would get the book because, in my opinion. But the other thing is, I was going to say, if you want a reading or hypnotherapy session, I will not hit you up. I have been very remiss in not telling you not to take anybody's messages unless you give me your phone number from my website. You go on my website, you fill out the intake form, and I call you. Unless you hear my voice, it's not me. Just so you know, okay? All right? So please don't get hustled out of $50 or whatever the hell they're charging. But one guy, again, guy, girl, I don't know, hit up my son. So now I have to give you this this warning, okay? All right, my love, sending you all much love, gratitudes. Absolutely, High Spirit. Thanks for being there. Thank you, sister. Thank you, Jennifer. Much love. Namaste. Be well. This will be up.